Chapter 27-22. Patriarch Luo continued. As for joining the Great Sun Limitless Path, this is your opportunity. Don't miss it. You were born in the Pongsong universe and have a low status. Without the support of a powerful force, it will be difficult for you to make a name for yourself in the Jiuquan divine domain. The Great Sun Limitless Path is one of the top forces in the Eastern Profound Divine Domain. Once you join them, you will be nominated as a special disciple. Your future will be limitless. Let me think for a moment. Su Fong pretended to be thinking, but he was sneering in his heart. What the expert of the Great Sun Limitless Path valued was none other than Su Fong's ability to refine the silver vein blood demon pill. Once he joined the Great Sun Limitless Path, he would definitely be used as a tool for refining pills in the future. Besides, the scholarly youth of the Great Sun Limitless Path wasn't a true peerless expert. He wasn't a big shot in the Great Sun Limitless Path either. How could such a person be qualified to be nominated as a special disciple by Su Fong? How could Su Fong take his empty promise seriously? Su Fong also sensed an extremely familiar aura from the scholarly youth. That aura came from the Jiuquan Limitless Scripture. That scholarly youth must have cultivated the Jiuquan Limitless Scripture before. Su Fong could guess that the Great Sun Limitless Path was most likely related to the descent of the evil god. The Great Sun Limitless Path is clearly not an ordinary sect. Patriarch Luo is also mysterious. Why would I join the Great Sun Limitless Path? He pretended to think for a moment. Su Fong looked at the elegant young man from the Great Sun Boundless sect and said with an apologetic smile, I am very grateful that the Great Sun Boundless sect is willing to buy my medicinal pills. However, I am alone in this second-star killer city and am very poor. I have to rely on refining medicinal pills to make a living. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness. If the Great Sun Boundless sect wants to buy my medicinal pills, I can only sell them at the original price. As for joining the Great Sun Limitless Path, please let me think about it. You dare to ask for such an exorbitant price for the Great Sun Limitless Path? The scholarly youth and Patriarch Luo's expressions turned ugly. He didn't give them any face at all. Su Fong looked at the expert from the three highest profound sects and said casually, the three highest profound sects have been trying to kill me at every turn. Why would I make a deal with you? Therefore, I will not sell a single one of my pills to the three supreme profound sects. Arrogant. The experts from the three supreme mysterious sects revealed killing intent. Shortly after, he shouted coldly, I suspect that you have colluded with the madman Luo Tian who killed my sect's disciple Chu Feng. In order to investigate the truth, you should obediently stay here for me. Whoosh, whoosh. Guards of the black market gathered around Su Fong and surrounded him. Even Dong Xianchen and Dong Xianchan were surrounded. Patriarch Luo looked at Su Fong and snorted, You arrogant brat who doesn't know what's good for you. I can't save you this time. You only have yourself to blame. Following that, the experts from the three supreme mysterious sects secretly communicated with the scholarly youth from the Great Sun Limitless sect. It was unknown what kind of deal the two sides had reached. Then, under the orders of the experts from the three supreme mysterious sects, the guards of the black market were about to attack Su Fong. The array formation in the black market space also began to release its divine might with a rumble, wanting to shackle Su Fong. Despite being surrounded, Su Fong was not afraid in the face of danger. Facing so many experts, he was still confident that he could calmly escape. Naturally, he did not panic in his heart. Suddenly, Dong Xianchen appeared in front of Su Fong in a flash and said domineeringly, Su Fong is my friend. Who dares to touch him? Su Fong was not surprised. He did not expect that Dong Xianchen would actually step forward at this time. He had not misjudged this person. The middle-aged cultivator from the three supreme mysterious sects raised his eyebrows. Dong Xianchen, this matter has nothing to do with you. It's best if you don't interfere. Dong Xianchen revealed his sharpness. I will definitely interfere today. Could it be that the three supreme mysterious sects plan to suppress me as well? Dong Xianchan also shouted loudly, Me too. The middle-aged cultivator from the three supreme mysterious sects frowned. With his strength and identity, he could not help but be wary when facing two disciples of the Eastern mysterious heavenly pavilion. "Brother Su Fong, let's go. Let's see who dares to stop us." Dong Chen strode towards the exit of the black market. Su Fong and Dong Chan followed behind him. The guards of the black market were still hesitating. Dong Chen's murderous aura surged out of his body, and his murderous intent swept over like a tidal wave. QL-11 The guards of the black market staggered and had no choice but to dodge to the sides. The expert from the three supreme mysterious sects hesitated again and again, but in the end, he gave up on the idea of attacking. The Eastern mysterious heavenly pavilion had never fought for power with other forces. That was because the pavilion was the supreme ruler of Dongxian. Therefore, there was no need for them to fight for anything with other forces. If one thought that the Eastern mysterious heavenly pavilion was weak and incompetent, it would be quite laughable. The way the Eastern mysterious heavenly pavilion taught disciples was different from other forces. Any disciple of the Eastern mysterious heavenly pavilion had a large group of experts behind them to guide their cultivation. None of these experts were to be trifled with. Once they were angered, it was not impossible for their entire clan to be annihilated. Whoosh! Su Fong followed Dong Chen and Dong Chan through the formation and left the space of the black market. Su Fong cupped his fists and thanked, "Brother Chen, thank you." Dong Chan muttered softly, "Senior brother saved you. You can't be so cruel to senior brother, can you?" Dong Chen laughed loudly and said, "What kind of person is Brother Su Fong? Why would he care about the blood evil stone?" Su Fong touched the tip of his nose and said, "This is this, and this is this. The blood evil stone that should be given cannot be less." Dong Chan looked angry. Dong Chen laughed heartily again. Then Dong Chen stared at Su Fong and reminded him, "Brother Su Fong, you have to be careful. The blood evil pill that you refine will attract the attention of many people. Even the City Lord Mansion will not remain indifferent. And with your strength, you have to be careful." Su Fong smiled helplessly. He already knew that his blood evil pill was extraordinary, but he did not expect it to be so extraordinary that all the cultivators would scramble for it. Now that the matter had escalated, not only the three supreme mysterious sects and the Great Sun Limitless sect, but even the City Lore Mansion would not let Su Fong go. Once he fell into the hands of those forces, Su Fong would not be able to leave the second star Slaughter City. At least for the next 1,000,000 years, he would be used as a tool to refine blood evil pills for them. This was the heaven-forsaken desolate region and the Blood Valley. If you had the ability, but no strength, you would not be able to escape the fate of being controlled by others. Dong Chen could only help Su Fong once in the black market, but he could not help Su Fong all the time. Facing the City Lord Mansion, he could not help even if he wanted to. Dong Chan looked anxious. In the second star's Slaughter City, who can resist the City Lord Mansion's forces? That is, Dong Chen shouted, "Little Chan, shut up." Su Fong naturally understood why Dong Chen stopped Dong Chan. To be able to control the second star's Slaughter City, even if the City Lord Mansion was not directly controlled by the East Profound Heavenly Pavilion, it was still inextricably linked to the pavilion. After thinking for a while, Su Fong showed a decisive look. He took out 300,000 of the 400,000 blood evil stones that he had just received and handed them to Dong Chen. "Brother Chen, please help me buy 3 spiritual items from the Chamber of Commerce and the black market. After it is done, I will reward you greatly. I admire Brother Su Fong's trust in me and your breadth of mind. I will definitely help you settle this small matter properly." Dong Chen was shocked when he received the 300,000 blood evil stones. He was very touched by Su Fong's trust and immediately agreed. Then he asked, "Brother Su Fong, do you plan to leave the Blood Valley?" The only way now was to quickly leave the Blood Valley from the second star Slaughter City. Su Fong said, "I will leave the second star Slaughter City, but I will not leave the Blood Valley." Dong Chen was shocked. "Brother Su Fong, you mean you want to go outside the city?" Su Fong nodded. "That's right. Although the City Lord Mansion and the three highest profound sects controlled the second star slaughter city, they could not control the outside of the city. Many cultivators had to live outside the city because they did not have blood evil stones and could not afford to rent pavilions and cave abodes. Moreover, there is also a natural profound door in the Blood Valley outside the city that could directly enter the space of the blood slaughter arena. In this way, they could easily get rid of the major forces. However, outside the city, not only was the environment harsh, there were also all kinds of powerful blood monsters. It was far more dangerous than inside the city. Those major forces would definitely hunt down Su Fong for the silver vein blood evil pills. Even if he escaped outside the city, it would still be dangerous and unpredictable. I will have to trouble Brother Chen to buy the spiritual items. Here's some blood evil pills. Take them and cultivate first. It won't be long before I see the peerless brilliance of Brother Chen and Sister Xiaochan in the blood slaughter arena. Su Fong threw a storage ring to Dong Chen, then turned around and strode toward the exit of the second star slaughter city. Dong Chen grabbed the storage ring and sent his consciousness into it. When he saw the things inside, his expression changed instantly. There were thousands of blood evil pills in the storage ring. The lowest grade was a 6-vein pill, and there were hundreds of 9-vein pills. Such a large amount of blood evil pills was enough to cause a bloody storm in the second star slaughter city. Dong Chen was overjoyed and shocked. With so many blood evil pills, it was enough to help him and Dong Xianchan complete the trial in the Blood Valley and cultivate the blood evil body to a level beyond their imagination. Xiaochan, it seems that we are very lucky. Dong Chen shook his head and smiled bitterly. Previously, he owed Su Fong 100,000 blood evil stones. Now he received so many silver vein blood evil pills. This favor was so heavy that Dong Chen didn't know how to repay it. Boom, boom, boom. Su Fong's flame step boots were burning with flames and constantly roaring. He was as fast as a shooting star on the streets of the second star slaughter city. Inside the star slaughter city, due to the shackles, he couldn't fly quickly. However, with the help of the flame step boots, Su Fong's speed was even faster than flying in the air. Swish! Swish! Who is it? Su Fong raised his eyebrows. Divine light flashed past those phantoms formed from thoughts. He could sense that all of them were experts. There were 3 low-level Dao Lords, and the others were high-level Dao Lords. The old man in the lead said indifferently, Su Fong, after the blood evil pills you sold were consumed by a cultivator, someone died on the spot. The City Lord is furious. Come with me to the City Lord's estate. Chapter 27-23. My blood fiend pill kill someone? Su Fong scoffed at the expert's words. The City Lord wants my blood fiend pill, but he's using such a clumsy excuse. Isn't that laughable? You're just a Dao True Realm cultivator, an ant-like existence. Why would the City Lord need a reason to deal with you? The old man sneered, and the domineering aura of the City Lord's mansion rose spontaneously. Then, he smiled and threw out a temptation. Kid, come with me to the City Lord's mansion obediently. As long as you're willing to cooperate with the City Lord, not only will you not be punished, you might even be put in an important position by the City Lord. Even if you leave Blood Valley in the future, you'll still have an extraordinary status in Jiuxuan's God Realm. Su Fong smiled disdainfully. How can my future achievements be decided by the City Lord of the small Blood Valley's Star Killer City? The old man snorted coldly. In that case, I won't talk nonsense with you. When I suppress you, you'll naturally kneel before the City Lord obediently. As soon as he finished speaking, the figure of a peaked Dao Lord next to the old man transformed into a thought attack that instantly enveloped Su Fong, wanting to shackle him. Chi! 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 Before entering the black market, Su Fong had deliberately put on a Daoist robe to hide the slaughter marks on his blood armor, so that they wouldn't be exposed. Now that he was bursting with slaughter energy, the Daoist robe on his body immediately shattered, revealing his blood armor. There were as many as 15 slaughter marks on the Star Killer pattern. It turned out that after 3,000 years of cultivation, Su Fongda had recklessly swallowed the blood fiend pill he refined and condensed 15 slaughter marks on his armor. Generally speaking, as long as he condensed 9 slaughter marks, he would be able to condense a 2-star killer on his blood armor, which meant that he would be promoted to a 2-star divine general of blood slaughter. However, the slaughter marks formed by swallowing blood fiend stones, blood fiend pills, and other external methods couldn't be promoted. For a 1-star divine general of blood slaughter, the more slaughter marks one had, the more powerful the slaughter body would be. Su Fong had 15 slaughter marks, which was already shocking in the 2-star killer city. The thought of the peak Dao Lord was instantly shredded to pieces by the murderous aura of the 15 slaughter marks. The dermic powers, Taoist rhymes, and will within the thought vanished without a trace. Impossible. How could a mere Dao genuine realm ant cultivate 15 slaughter marks? The old man and the other experts of the City Lord Mansion were all shocked. Kill. In the state of the blood evil Dharmakaya, Su Fong was like the god of killing. His murderous aura burst out, and the 15 slaughter marks condensed into sword chi and turned into a sword formation, crushing the shadows formed by the thoughts of the dozens of experts in the air. Sword energy crisscrossed, and killing intent soared to the sky. Those experts from the City Lord's Mansion had yet to arrive in person. They were only figures formed by their thoughts, so they couldn't stop Su Fong's slaughter sword formation. The Dao Lord experts were instantly killed by the sword formation, and only the thoughts of the 3 Dao Lord experts managed to escape. However, they were also heavily injured, and their shadows dimmed. Su Fong activated his flame stomper boots, and a rumbling sound erupted from beneath his feet. He took advantage of the momentum to rush toward the formation door leading out of the city. Su Fong used a poisonous pill to kill the cultivators of the 2-star killer city. The City Lord has ordered us to suppress him. Anyone who helps will be heavily rewarded by the City Lord's Mansion. The old man leading the group from the City Lord's Mansion was furious. He immediately shouted at the cultivators around the formation door. Around the formation door, there were hundreds of cultivators preparing to leave the 2-star killer city to search for blood evil stone mines outside the city. It's him. This person has silver-patterned blood evil pills and countless blood evil stones. Kill him, and all the blood evil pills and blood evil stones will be ours. One of the cultivators was the burly man who had been the first to buy the silver-patterned blood evil pill in the black market. He had spent all the blood evil stones he had on him to buy 50 blood evil pills from Su Fong. At this moment, he was penniless and was preparing to leave the city to search for blood evil stones. He recognized Su Fong at a glance and was immediately surprised and delighted. After a wild cry, he flew towards Su Fong. Silver-patterned blood evil pill. That person is the cultivator who refined the silver-patterned blood evil pill. Capture him. When the other cultivators heard Su Fong's identity, their eyes instantly turned red with endless greed. They charged towards Su Fong like hungry tigers pouncing on sheep. Brat, you're so black-hearted. You actually extorted 20,000 blood evil stones from me for 50 pills. See if I don't wring your neck today. The burly man laughed savagely. His aura was like a moving mountain. His aura and were so oppressive that it was almost suffocating. The surrounding space also trembled and shook. The illusory figure floating in the air shouted loudly, "Don't kill him. Just shackle him." The burly man laughed and said, "Don't worry, my lord. I promise to hand this person over to you alive. However, the silver-patterned blood evil pills and blood evil stones on him must be shared with me." The illusory figure nodded and said, "Approved." The two of them actually treated Su Fong as a pig waiting to be slaughtered. "You're courting death." Su Fong's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. He quickly switched between the mysterious yellow avatar and the blood evil avatar. Boom, boom, boom. Xin Tiansheng, Ancestral Graygon, and other experts poured all their power into Su Fong's mysterious yellow avatar. Su Fong fully activated the Flaming Steps treasure boots and rushed out like a bolt of lightning. His 6 divine powers erupted and collided with the burly man. It felt as if 2 stars had collided, and the entire 2nd stars of Slaughter City shook. Boom, The burly man was like an egg that had collided with a rock. He was shattered by Su Fong's 6 divine powers. His avatar and his physical body were turned into blood and splattered in all directions, causing a rain of blood to fall. The cultivators who followed closely behind the burly man and rushed towards Su Fong were hit by the aftershocks. More than a dozen cultivators were killed on the spot, while the others were thrown off their feet. Those cultivators originally thought that they could obtain the silver-patterned blood evil pills and blood evil stones if they captured Su Fong. They never expected that Su Fong, who was only at the Tao True realm, would have such terrifying strength. Even if he didn't use the blood evil avatar, he still possessed strength that surpassed that of an ordinary Tao Lord. The greed in their hearts instantly vanished. They were scared out of their wits and fled frantically. Su Fong's aura was like a rainbow. No one could block his sharpness. He instantly arrived in front of the formation door. Suddenly, the divine power of the formation surged, and the formation door was sealed. It turned out that the city lord had personally controlled the barrier of second stars of Slaughter City to seal the formation door. He was confident in his status and wouldn't personally suppress Su Fong. However, he didn't expect that Su Fong's strength would far exceed his imagination. Thus, he had no choice but to personally seal the formation door and cut off Su Fong's path of retreat. Swoosh! Swoosh! A large number of experts from the city lord's estate chased after Su Fong from behind. The old man shouted domineeringly, "Su Fong, you've already become a turtle in a jar. You can't escape from second stars of Slaughter City even if you grow wings. Hurry up and surrender." A misty and mysterious light suddenly shot out from Su Fong's eyes and landed on the sealed formation door. It turned out that Su Fong had used the heaven-prying eye, and the flaws of the seal were instantly revealed in his eyes. Hiss! 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 Su Fong waved his hand and shot out streams of sword chi. Although they weren't very powerful, they easily broke the seal when they landed on the flaws. Over the years, Su Fong had been constantly comprehending the formation in the Sky Luo Wheel. In terms of formation level, at least in second stars of Slaughter City, no one could match him. Coupled with the heaven-prying eye, wasn't it easy for him to break the seal? Su Fong's figure flashed, and he rushed out of second stars of Slaughter City through the formation door. The experts from the city lord's estate who were chasing after him were all dumbfounded. The city lord's furious voice reverberated in second stars of Slaughter City. "No matter where he escapes, you must catch him for me." The experts from the city lord's estate chased after him through the formation door. As soon as Su Fong escaped from second stars of Slaughter City, the shackles that restricted his flight disappeared. He immediately merged his Xian-Yang celestial body with his physical body and used the burning light escape technique. In an instant, he turned into a stream of fire and flew toward the vast space outside stars of Slaughter City. The experts from the city lord's estate who were chasing after him were all stunned when they couldn't see any trace of Su Fong after he left second stars of Slaughter City. QL11, they felt that the cultivator who was chasing after them wasn't a Tao genuine realm expert, but a peerless Tao master. Moreover, they had an ominous premonition that if they continued to chase after him, they wouldn't be the ones chasing after Su Fong, but would be killed by Su Fong instead. The leading old man said in a deep voice, "Everyone, the city lord is furious. This time, even if we have to search the periphery of second stars of Slaughter City, we can't let Su Fong escape. Otherwise, we'll have to wait for the city lord's fury of thunder." They had no choice but to brace themselves and search for Su Fong outside second stars of Slaughter City. Dong Xinchan and Dong Xinichen were initially worried that Su Fong wouldn't be able to escape the suppression of the city lord's estate, but when they heard the city lord's furious voice, they were relieved and returned to the palace in the depths of the city lord's estate. Whoosh! A thought passed through the formation and entered the palace. Dong Xianjun, Dong Xinichen, and Dong Xinchan's gazes changed instantly. Their eyes were filled with dread as they looked at the figure formed by the thought. Dong Xianjun said indifferently, "Dong Xinichen, you trash, you're getting bolder. How dare you help Su Fong?" Dong Xinichen said angrily, Dong Xianjun, you use your power to bully me in Heaven Pavilion. Are you trying to suppress me in Blood Valley? Trash will always be trash. No matter where you go, you'll be trampled under my feet. Dong Xianjun smiled disdainfully and said domineeringly, "Give me all the silver-striped blood demon pills you got from Su Fong." Dong Xianichin shouted, "Don't even think about it." Dong Xianjun's silhouette looked at Dong Xianchan and smiled coldly. "If you don't want me to take her body now, then obey obediently." Dong Xianchan was trembling in fear. Dong Xianichin shouted angrily, "Dong Xianjun, how dare you?" Dong Xianjun said, "You know, of course I dare, and I have the right to do so. Take the pills and scram. If you dare to pester Xiaochan again, I swear I'll kill you even if I have to die." Dong Xianichin took out hundreds of pills. They were the silver-striped blood demon pills that Su Fong gave him in the black market. This medicinal pill is indeed somewhat extraordinary. I didn't expect that an ant-like character would actually be able to concoct such an extraordinary medicinal pill. Wait until I capture him and subdue him. I will make him a slave that will concoct medicinal pills for me. Chapter 27-24. Outside the second star Slaughter City, a streak of fiery light flashed through the air. In a flash, it arrived above a valley and suddenly stopped. Su Fong's figure was revealed. Su Fong's extraordinary vision swept through the valley, and a smile appeared in his eyes. "I'll take this place as the place to stay in the second star Slaughter City." The reason why he chose this place to stay was because there was a spatial formation in the valley, which was the natural profound gate formed by the Blood Valley. Through this profound gate, one could directly enter the space of the Blood Slaughter Arena. QL11, Su Fong landed in the valley. Unexpectedly, as soon as he appeared, an angry roar was heard. "This is my territory. Get out!" Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. More than a dozen cultivators flew out of the valley aggressively. In the second star Slaughter City, many cultivators were unable to pay the blood evil stones to rent the pavilions and caves of the City Lord Mansion. They had to live outside the city. There were also some cultivators who did not have the means to earn blood evil stones, so they had to go outside the city to find blood evil stone mines or kill blood monsters to obtain blood evil stones. There was a profound gate in this valley that led to the blood slaughter arena, so it was not strange for these cultivators to occupy it. "Get out!" The experts of the City Lord Mansion would chase after him at any time. Time was of the essence, so Su Fong did not bother to talk nonsense with these cultivators. The blood armor appeared on his body, and the 15 slaughter marks erupted with a terrifying killing aura. Puff, puff, puff. Under the impact of Su Fong's killing aura, the cultivators could not stay in the air and fell to the ground like dumplings. A peerless expert with 15 slaughter marks. Run! The arrogant cultivators were immediately scared out of their wits and scrambled out of the valley. After Su Fong carefully looked around the valley, he immediately rolled out a formation talisman and inserted it into the rocks on both sides of the valley. Then, he created a formation at the entrance of the valley. Just as he finished doing this, a cultivator flew over. It was an expert from the City Lord Mansion. This person discovered Su Fong in the valley, but he did not attack Su Fong. Instead, he took out a rune talisman and contacted his companions. Su Fong sneered and found the cave mansions left behind by the previous cultivators in the valley. After cleaning them up, he sat down cross-legged inside. In less than the time it took for an incense stick to burn, hundreds of cultivators gathered in the sky above the valley. In addition to the experts from the City Lord's office who were chasing after Su Fong, there were also some experts who were tempted by the City Lord's office's generous rewards and came along to capture Su Fong. Strange. Why isn't that kid running anymore? Could it be that there's a conspiracy? The old man leading the group was bewildered. One of the Castellan Manor's experts sneered in disdain. Escape? Where can he escape to? Right now, he's like a turtle in a jar. Let's see where he can escape to. The old man waved his hand, and more than 100 cultivators spread out, surrounding the sky above the valley. After that, a Dowlord led over 10 cultivators towards a gorge. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Strands of energy suddenly erupted from the rocks on both sides of the gorge, and they interweaved with each other to instantly transform into layer upon layer of formations that enveloped the gorge. Moreover, those cultivators were instantly trapped within the formations. The divine might of the formations struck ceaselessly, and in less than the time for an incense stick to burn, besides that Tao Lord, all the other cultivators had perished within the formations. Even though that Tao Lord was lucky enough to survive, he was like a fish that had fallen into a large net, and he was unable to escape the restraints of the large net no matter how he struggled. A Tao Lord is qualified to be my subordinate. Su Fong had been paying attention to every single movement within the formations from the beginning until the end. When he saw that Tao Lord being trapped within the formations, Su Fong was slightly unable to restrain himself. The more subordinates such an expert had, the better. Every single additional expert represented an improvement in the overall strength of the Castellan Manor. He flashed out of the abode and passed through the formations to appear before the old man, and then he shouted coldly in a domineering manner. "You're like a turtle in a jar now. Quickly submit to me, and I'll spare your life." "Submit to you?" The old man was still unafraid, even though he was trapped within the formations, and he scoffed at Su Fong's words. "Do you know the City Lord background?" Su Fong said, "I really don't know the background of the City Lord of the Second Star Slaughter City. The City Lord is from the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion. Even though he's not an important figure in the Heavenly Pavilion, he was appointed by a higher-up of the Heavenly Pavilion to guard the Second Star Slaughter City. As expected, the City Lord's estate is related to the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion. No wonder you dared to collect wealth so unscrupulously in the Blood Valley." The Tao Lord shouted coldly and domineeringly. "I'm a City Lord's subordinate, which is equivalent to an outer member of the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion. What kind of status do I have? How can I submit to a puny Tao Lord like you? Quickly release me and submit to the City Lord. Not only will you be able to keep your life, but you'll also have a limitless future." Su Fong said indifferently, "Since you're unwilling to submit, then it's useless to keep you alive. A mere formation can only barely trap me. How can it possibly suppress me?" The Tao Lord released his thoughts and launched a fierce attack at Su Fong. Su Fong's figure flashed, and he vanished without a trace from the formation. A short moment later, the divine might of the formation crushed down on the Tao Lord like layers of monstrous waves. The Tao Lord's strength was extraordinary indeed. He was actually able to persist for 6 hours under the attacks of the numerous formations and shatter them one after another. In the end, it was Su Fong who personally made a move. He activated Slaughter Mark and used his Slaughter Aura to form a sword formation. Coupled with the divine might of the formation, he was finally able to kill the Tao Lord. Su Fong waved his hand and put the corpse into the space within his body. After that, he charged out of the layers of formations. The might of time coiled around him as he pounced towards the City Lord's estate and the other cultivators in the air. "Join forces and suppress him," the old man in the lead shouted coldly. The other experts released their thoughts one after another, and they transformed into attacks that engulfed Su Fong like a tide. Unbeknownst to them, in the next moment, Su Fong suddenly appeared before the Tao Lord, and he'd taken the Tao Lord by surprise and heavily injured the Tao Lord's quintessent soul. It turned out that Su Fong had executed the Grand Tao of Time and was killed by the joint forces of all the cultivators, and it was merely the figure he'd left behind a breath of time ago. Pooh! Su Fong seized the opportunity while the old man was injured by the Tao Lord's true incineration to activate the Slaughter Sword formation and mince the old man's body and avatar into pieces. When the other cultivators recovered from their shock, Su Fong activated the Flame Stamp shoes. Bang! His figure instantly teleported before another Tao Lord, and then his slaughter intent swept out and directly assaulted the Tao Lord's Tao heart. The slaughter intent contained within the 15 slaughter marks was extremely shocking, and even a Tao Lord was unable to endure it. He immediately let out a shrill cry, while the sound of his Tao heart shattering that only the soul core could hear resounded from within his body. Moreover, even his quintessent soul was heavily injured. Su Fong was just about to kill the Tao Lord when a cold and gloomy thought silently assaulted him, and it assaulted his Tao heart and soul from behind. At the same time, the cold and gloomy energy within the thought instantly sealed him in ice. He's been shackled by my thoughts. A Tao Lord cried out loudly with delight. Hiss! Su Fong's Tao heart shook and emanated rays of light that swept away the cold and gloomy aura. Even if it was a thought attack from a Tao Lord, it was unable to shake his Tao heart in the slightest. After that, Su Fong's Darkyang Tao body erupted with the aura of the Darkyang Tao and divine might from within the Jiuquan Tao Palace, and it instantly dispersed the cold and gloomy aura that shackled his body. Su Fong regained his freedom once more, and his figure was propelled by the flame-stamped shoes to instantly charge towards the Tao Lord that had launched a surprise attack against him. That Tao Lord was still in a state of wild joy. Never had he imagined that Su Fong would actually be able to escape his shackles so easily. He was caught off guard, and he activated a shield and instantly placed it before him. Break! Su Fong merged his Darkyang Tao body with his physical body, and a 6th-level pagoda enveloped his body. After that, he fused the energy of the numerous experts within his body and directly smashed his fist forward. Clang! The Tao Lord's shield had just been activated when it was blasted into pieces by Su Fong's overbearing and powerful punch. Moreover, the Tao Lord was shaken to the point he spat out a mouthful of blood, and his gaze towards Su Fong was filled with astonishment and terror. Dying! The 6th-level doors of the pagoda suddenly opened, and 6 levels of divine might erupted from them and swallowed up the Tao Lord that had launched a surprise attack against Su Fong. That Tao Lord made a prompt decision to abandon his physical body and flee in the form of an avatar. Su Fong stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion in the air, and numerous talismans were pulled out. There were actually over 100 talismans, and they instantly transformed into numerous layers of formations that trapped almost 100 cultivators in the surroundings. He was like a god of death as he moved through the formations and relied on the divine might of the formations to reap the lives of numerous experts along the way. This person's strength far surpasses his cultivation, and he's absolutely not someone we can suppress. Quickly return to the City Lord's estate and ask the City Lord's estate to dispatch experts. There were less than 10 cultivators who were lucky enough to escape, and they didn't dare to stay any longer as they fled in panic towards Second Starkiller City. With the help of the formations, Su Fong used 6 hours to kill over 60 cultivators. The remaining 30 or so cultivators begged for mercy and time and were restrained by Su Fong. Next, the City Lord's estate should dispatch true experts. These formations created with talismans are far from enough. After that, Su Fong used his nascent soul avatar to create new formations on both sides of the valley and within the valley. Layer after layer of formations overlapped and connected, and they tightly enveloped the entire valley. He created almost 10,000 formations in one go, and he only stopped when his nascent soul avatar couldn't bear it any longer. This still isn't enough. The formations he created in a hurry could stop ordinary Tao Lords, but they weren't enough to deal with truly formidable Tao Lords. This time, even if the City Lord comes personally, I'll make it so that they won't be able to return. After he pondered for a moment, a ruthless expression flashed in Su Fong's eyes. After those cultivators who pursued Su Fong returned to Second Starkiller City, the news spread and instantly shook the entire city. 3 months later, 3 cultivators left Second Starkiller City and appeared in the sky above the valley that Su Fong occupied. These 3 cultivators weren't ordinary figures. One of them was that expert from the 3 supreme mysterious sects, and a refined young man from the endless Grand Sun sect had come as well. Chapter 27-25. All 3 of them were peerless experts at the upper Tao Lord realm, and they were from the top powers of the eastern profound divine domain. They had naturally come for Su Fong. The City Lord of Second Slaughter City had obviously been infuriated. At the same time, he didn't hesitate to send out the top experts of Second Slaughter City in order to capture Su Fong and refine the silver-striped blood demon pill. The three experts looked down at the valley and saw that it was filled with clouds and mist that distorted and blocked their senses. It was difficult to see what was going on inside. The scholarly young man from the great solar sect frowned and said, "What is Su Fong trying to do? He can clearly escape from the Blood Valley. So why is he staying here and creating a formation to occupy this valley?" The mighty middle-aged man from the Three Supreme Profound sect revealed a fierce killing intent in his eyes. "That kid offended our sect's elder, Grandma Executioner. As soon as he leaves the Blood Valley, he'll be suppressed by Elder Executioner. He'll die if he leaves the Blood Valley." The scholarly young man came to a sudden realization. Looks like he plans to occupy the valley and enter the blood slaughter arena through the profound door within the valley. He'll win 100 battles and then enter the third slaughter city. The mighty middle-aged man sneered. His plan isn't bad. As long as he obtains a high-ranked divine general of blood slaughter or even a divine lord of blood slaughter, our sect will naturally be unable to do anything to him. However, how can these titles be obtained so easily? Our sect's genius, Ling Xingqian, is ranked on the heavenly profound ranking, but even now, it's very difficult for him to pass the trials of the third slaughter city, let alone him. The expert with the bronze mask snorted. That kid is young and his cultivation isn't high, but his guts are sky high. He actually offended so many great powers at the same time. The scholarly young man shook his head. The city lord is too cautious. Not only did he send the two of us, he even sent Vice City Lord Qin. It turned out that the expert with the bronze mask was actually the Vice City Lord of Second Slaughter City. The mighty middle-aged man from the Three Supreme Profound sect snorted coldly. "If it wasn't for you at the trading ground that day, I would have already suppressed that kid. How could there be such a troublesome matter today?" The scholarly young man smiled indifferently. "Su Fong has the ability to refine silver-striped blood demon pills. Even the city lord values him so much, let alone me. Besides, with Dong Xinichen's help at that time, would you dare to attack Dong Xinichen?" Just as the mighty middle-aged man was about to retort, Vice Castellan Qin waved his hand and said, "Let's break the formation as soon as possible and capture Su Fong so that I can report back to the Castellan and Dongxian young Master Jun. That Su Fong is really naive. He thinks that he can save his life with the help of a formation. What a joke. No matter how powerful a formation is, how can it stop the thoughts of an expert? Moreover, my three supreme mysterious sects are most proficient in the Tao of space, which is the nemesis of formations. There is no need for the two of you to take action. I can suppress it with just a thought." The mighty middle-aged man from the three supreme mysterious sects revealed a domineering smile. A thought leaped out from between his eyebrows and materialized into his figure. With an aura that transcended the restraints of space and a domineering aura that looked down on everything, he flashed into the thick fog that covered the valley. The thoughts of an expert at the Downlord realm were extremely formidable. Moreover, besides containing his will, this thought of the expert from the three supreme mysterious sects even contained the supreme Tao of space. So, it disregarded the shackles of the formation and the ability to warp one's consciousness, and it instantly passed through layer upon layer of formations. When his thought was about to enter the valley, the mighty middle-aged man from the three supreme mysterious sects revealed a complacent expression. Suddenly, his thought passed through a formation and suddenly fell into a formation space. This formation was obviously different from other formations. It was formed from numerous threads that even the soul core couldn't see through, and it was impossible for his thought to pass through it as well. The formation space was suffused with the aura of calamity and misfortune. When his thought came into contact with this aura, he immediately had a bad feeling that a calamity was imminent. Moreover, this aura contained a type of energy of decay, causing his thought to instantly become dispirited and listless. The mighty middle-aged man's main body felt a strand of shapeless misfortune, and it instantly enveloped him along with the connection between him and his thought. Damn it, what sort of strange formation is that? The glow in the mighty middle-aged man's eyes instantly changed as he immediately severed the connection between him and his thought. He'd finally escaped the feeling of being enveloped by misfortune, and it terrified him to the point his countenance turned pale and his heart trembled with fear. Losing a thought and having his karmic luck corroded by the misfortune caused his aura to become much weaker, and his Tao heart and soul core had been damaged as well. That kid is extremely mysterious, and he possesses all sorts of formidable abilities. Supposedly, he once utilized a mysterious ability to annihilate a gang in First Starkiller City. Or should we join forces and forcefully destroy the formation before suppressing him? Vice City Governor Qin gazed at the layer upon layer of formations while fear appeared in his eyes. Then let's destroy the formation layer by layer. Let's see where he can flee to. The mighty middle-aged man roared furiously as he utilized another strand of his thought, and it transformed into a dignified golden armored figure. He took a step forward, and his fist caused a spatial storm to surge as it smashed against the formation. Rumble. The formation shattered layer by layer. As expected of an upper-level Tao Lord, this punch of his actually shattered over 10 layers of the formation. Cultivators comprehended the Heaven Tao with their soul core, and their cultivations surpassed the Tao Lord realm. Then, they utilized the aura of the Tao and the will to condense their thoughts, causing the divine abilities they executed to become even stronger. Moreover, they didn't have to form seals, and a single thought could form a technique with peerless might. Even though this expert from the three highest profound sects hadn't attained a realm that surpassed the Tao Lord realm, the cultivation techniques and divine abilities of the three highest profound sects were shocking, and it caused his thought attacks to be comparable to experts that surpassed the Tao Lord realm. After the golden armored figure formed from his thought shattered over 10 layers of the formation with a single punch, he seemed to have become much more illusory. With a command in the mighty middle-aged man's mind, a strand of light wind swept out from the space between his brows and descended onto the golden armored figure. It caused the golden armored figure to become spirited once more, and he repeatedly attacked the formation. The space grand Tao of the three highest profound sects really is extremely formidable. Vice City Lord Qin praised, and then he flicked his finger towards the formation. A strand of aura of the Tao and will shot out explosively. First, there was a buzzing sound, and then it actually transformed into a shocking sound of thunder. A bolt of lightning that could destroy everything blasted onto the formation, and it instantly destroyed a large portion of the formation that covered the valley. Its might far surpassed the thought attack executed by the expert from the three highest profound sects. The supreme divine ability from the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion is really formidable. The mighty middle-aged man and the refined young man were extremely shocked. The refined young man from the Great Sun Limitless sect possessed extraordinary strength as well. He executed his thought and transformed it into yin and yang qi that fused and transformed into a shocking divine might that caused all things to return to silence. Under the joint forces of the three of them, the formation above the valley was ceaselessly shattered, and 6 hours later, the bottom of the valley was finally revealed. Insignificant tricks that can't even withstand a single blow. The mighty middle-aged man sneered with disdain. Vice City Lord Qin wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, "The formation created by a Tao True Realm cultivator can make us, three upper Tao masters, consume so much energy. It's enough to show that this person is extraordinary." The mighty middle-aged man asked curiously, "How can Su Fong be the same as Luo Tian? Both of them are good at formations. Could it be that Luo Tian is Su Fong's incarnation?" Vice City Lord Qin's expression turned grave. Luo Tian, who won 20 consecutive battles in the blood slaughter arena? If that's really the case, Su Fong is really terrifying. Fortunately, this person is now a turtle in a jar and will soon fall into the trap. The young man from the Great Sun Limitless sect smiled embarrassedly, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. The three of them flew to the ground of the valley at the same time. At this time, Su Fong's indifferent voice came from the cave residence. The city lord of Star Slaughter City really thinks highly of me, Su Fong, and sent 3 peerless experts to catch me, an insignificant Dao True Realm cultivator. Vice City Lord Qin said majestically, Su Fong, the city lord has no malice toward you. On the contrary, he thinks highly of you. As long as you join the City Lord Mansion, your status will not be lower than mine. Join the City Lord Mansion and become your elixir refining tool? Su Fong sneered. Not only will I not join the City Lord Mansion, but I also want the 3 of you to submit to me and become my slaves. What do you think? Then Su Fong walked out of the cave residence, and his domineering voice echoed in the valley. The 3 of them were stunned, and then they burst into laughter. Swish! Swish! They erupted from Su Fong's Jioshuan Dao Palace, forming marks that intertwined above the valley. At the same time, mysterious purple light and invisible spider silk shot out from the left and right sides of the valley. They fused with the Dao aura and intertwined with each other, forming a large formation that covered the entire valley. The vast and boundless Dao aura and the power of providence completely enveloped the 3 of them. It turned out that Su Fong used his profound yellow, profound yang, heavenly Dao, violet fate, and blood fiend Dharma bodies to release their Dao aura and will. Together with the spider silk released by the spider, they formed an intricate formation. Su Fong was still unable to release powerful thoughts, so he combined them with the formation to create a formation that far surpassed the power of thought attacks. Su Fong had long expected that the City Lord Mansion would not let him go easily. After many deductions, and combining his various extraordinary abilities and formations, he created this nameless formation and waited for the fish to fall into the net. Unexpectedly, 3 big fish came at once. This time, no matter what, he would not let them escape. The formation suddenly operated, releasing the divine power of the formation that swept toward the 3 powerhouses. All kinds of powerful Dao aura and the terrifying power of devouring providence hit the 3 of them like waves. Only then did the 3 of them realize that the situation was not good. They used all their strength to deal with the impact of the formation. Previously, they had consumed a lot of energy to break the formation. At this time, Su Fong's formation attack contained the power of devouring providence, making them unable to defend themselves. In addition, Su Fong would occasionally sneak attacks through the formation. Although the 3 of them were powerful and could not be suppressed in a short time, it was impossible for them to escape in a short time. The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. When their providence was completely devoured, they would die even if Su Fong did not make a move. Chapter 27-26. A tiny existence that's like an ant dares to try and suppress me? Arrogant fellow, you really dare to dream. The middle-aged man from the 3 sovereign profound sects roared with disdain. A true Dao realm cultivator actually intended to suppress an upper Dao lord and take him as a slave. It was truly an extremely laughable thing. The middle-aged man withdrew a talisman. After he crushed it, a strand of shocking might that tore space apart erupted from it, and even a rift was forcefully torn open in the space within Bloodgorge. Escape? It probably won't be so easy. Spider, devour his karmic luck. Su Fong immediately sent a voice transmission to the spider. He didn't intend to utilize the spider's ability directly. However, this expert from the 3 sovereign profound sects didn't just possess shocking strength. He possessed an extremely formidable talisman as well. This time, Su Fong intended to suppress him no matter what, so he didn't care about anything else. Since he was unable to suppress him as a slave, then he could only kill him. QL11 swoosh. Suddenly, a crystalline and translucent spider leaped out from within the formation. Ordinary cultivators were utterly incapable of noticing it, but upper Dao lords were barely able to notice it. What's that? Vice City Governor Qin and the refined young man from the Unbounded Sun sect instantly revealed dazzling expressions. The middle-aged man from the 3 sovereign profound sects leaped into the spatial rift, while his heart was filled with complacency. Little did he know. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The spider spat out venom that surpassed the limits of space and time, and it instantly descended onto the middle-aged man. It wasn't ordinary venom the spider spat out. Actually, it wasn't venom at all, and it was the energy of misfortune that corroded karmic luck. Not only did it bring calamity and misfortune, it even contained a terrifying energy that caused one's life to decline and become ill. What the hell is that? The middle-aged man was astounded, and then he was swallowed by the torrent of space. Even though he wasn't able to suppress it and was injured by the spider, it would absolutely not end well for him. Not to mention the misfortune, the spider's strange energy of decline and illness was sufficient to take his life. That's the legendary spider. As expected of the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion, Vice City Governor Cheen actually recognized the spider. The refined young man from the unbounded sun sect grunted. Who cares about the spider? It's just a beast. Deputy City Lord Cheen smiled bitterly and said, Your Excellency, I'm afraid we're doomed this time. Then he explained some of the legends about the weaver spider to the elegant young man. The scholarly young man's face instantly turned deathly pale, and he completely lost his previous composure. Su Fong's figure flashed out from within the formation, and he said in a domineering manner, I never expected that you would actually be acquainted with the wolf spider. This saves me a lot of effort. The wolf spider was able to annihilate a formidable chaotic race. So could it be that both of you who are only at the Downlord realm can deal with the wolf spider? Deputy City Lord Cheen cupped his fists and said, There's nothing more to say. No, I'm willing to submit. After he finished speaking, he knelt before Su Fong, expressing his sincere submission. Su Fong was rather surprised that he was so straightforward. He had thought that this person would resist for a while. That elegant young man said in surprise. Vice City Lord Cheen, Deputy City Lord Cheen said, Even on the Vice City Lord of Star Slaughter City, I'm actually only a slave of the Heavenly Pavilion. I seem to possess some authority, but it's only limited to the second Star Slaughter City. Since Master possesses the wolf spider, it means that he possesses heaven-defying karmic luck, and his accomplishments in the future will exceed our imaginations. So, why don't you take the initiative to submit to Master? You'll even be able to be put in an important position. Moreover, you'll be able to be tainted by Master's karmic luck while following by Master's side. Perhaps you'll be able to become a true expert in the future. Su Fong nodded and said, You really are wise. Moreover, I, Su Fong, can guarantee that I'll absolutely not treat my subordinates as cannon fodder. Not only will they be able to obtain a suitable amount of freedom as they cultivate in the future, I've always spared no effort in fostering my subordinates. Helping you surpass the Downlord realm is only something that can be done in a few million years. Swoosh! Su Fong waved his hand, and numerous treasures were swept out from within the six extreme Dao Sane avatar, and they floated before him. So many treasures. Deputy City Lord Cheen's eyes instantly flickered with a burning glow. Su Fong looked at that elegant young man from the Boundless Grand Sun sect and asked coldly, What are you still hesitating for? Could it be that you really want to become a corpse before you're satisfied? The elegant young man smiled bitterly and said, My soul has long been sealed by the sect's experts, and the seed of the seal has fused with my soul. No one can remove it. Even if I want to submit to you, I'm powerless. If you want to kill me, just kill me. Su Fong asked, If I remove the shackles on your soul, are you willing to submit to me? The elegant young man's deep eyes were filled with disdain. You? Su Fong chuckled. The soul seal planted by the descent of the evil god is indeed something that other experts can't remove. However, it's not a problem for me, Su Fong. The descent of the evil god, Deputy City Lord Cheen exclaimed as he looked at the elegant young man in shock. That elegant young man's expression also changed instantly as he looked at Su Fong in disbelief. How did you know? Didn't Ancestor Luo tell you about my origin? Su Fong asked in return. The elegant young man said, Ancestor Luo? Are you talking about Luo Jin? Although he's also from the Great Sun Limitless Dao, I'm not very familiar with him. Why would he tell me about you? Ancestor Luo's origin is indeed not simple. Su Fong stopped asking about Ancestor Luo Then he said, "You're cultivating the Jiuquan Limitless Sutra. Sooner or later, everything you have will be taken away by the evil god. Are you planning to let everything that you've worked so hard to cultivate be taken away by someone else?" The elegant young man's eyes were filled with shock. "How did you know?" Su Fong said, "Don't worry about that first. Let me ask you something. Not only can I remove the soul seal for you, but I can also help you resolve the consequences of the Jiuquan Limitless Sutra. Although there's only a slight possibility, it's still much better than you waiting for death." The elegant young man was shocked and doubtful. "You're only at the Tao True Realm." Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. Then he used the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. The aura of the Tao runes surged and instantly condensed into an illusory blade with a sharp destiny power. Life-severing blade. Deputy City Lord Qin and the elegant young man were shocked again. The supreme divine ability of the heavens fate stage. Su Fong nodded and said, "That's right. This is the supreme divine ability of destiny from the heavens fate stage. It can cut off all the fetters and restraints in destiny and restrain all primordial spirit abilities. Can help you remove the soul seal." "Greetings, Master." The elegant young man was surprised and delighted. He hurriedly knelt down and bowed to Su Fong, opening his soul to Su Fong. Chi, the life-severing blade, landed on the elegant young man's origin soul and the illusory destiny. How powerful was the divine ability of destiny from the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. Wherever the blade went, the seals that shackled the elegant young man's soul would shatter layer by layer. However, it did not cause any damage to his soul at all. The elegant young man suddenly seemed to have removed his shackles. He was shocked and delighted. He kowtowed to Su Fong. "Thank you, Master." Deputy City Lord Qin sincerely submitted to Su Fong in his heart when he witnessed this scene. He'd executed the heavenly secret life shrinking technique this time, and it targeted the seal on the soul and not the fate of others. So, Su Fong had only exhausted around 10% of his lifespan, and it was still within an acceptable range. After that, Su Fong executed the heavenly secret life shrinking technique again, and it transformed into layers of seal seeds that shackled their souls. In this way, their fates would fall into Su Fong's control, and it would be absolutely impossible for them to betray Su Fong. Just like that, two formidable experts had instantly appeared under Su Fong's command. Both of them were at the upper Downlord realm, and their true strengths were comparable to peak experts at the upper Downlord realm. Both of you cultivate and recover first. I have something to ask the both of you after that. Su Fong withdrew some treasures from the 6 extreme Dao Saint avatars, 109 mark blood baleful pills, and 10 drops of blood from that expert from the Xin clan who'd surpassed the Downlord realm. Su Fong's generosity caused the two subordinates who were originally slightly nervous to be shocked and delighted. After that, Su Fong withdrew his Violet Fate avatar and spider, and then he led his two subordinates into his abode. Su Fong had exhausted quite a bit of his lifespan this time. After he returned to his abode, he wantonly devoured medicinal pills, treasures, and the blood essence of experts to swiftly recover his lost lifespan and strength. After he recovered slightly, Su Fong left his abode and set up formations in the valley once more. Compared to the formations he'd set up in a hurry last time, not only were there more in number, they were even more complicated and vast. After everything was set up properly, he wasn't afraid that the city lord's estate would send another expert over. Even if the city lord himself came, Su Fong still wouldn't be afraid. After that, Su Fong called Vice City Lord Qin and the young man from the Great Sun sect over and questioned them in detail. However, the results disappointed Su Fong. "You intend to find out the truth behind the descent of the demon god from that cultivator of the Great Sun sect?" Xixian's Daozu suddenly spoke in Su Fong's mind. He hadn't spoken for a long time, and only spoke when it concerned the descent of the demon god. "That's right. I didn't expect the Great Sun sect's organization to be so secretive. Other than cultivating the Jiuquan's Wuji scripture and being sent to the Blood Valley, Wu Ming actually knows nothing about the secrets of the Great Sun sect's higher echelons." The Wu Ming that Su Fong spoke of was the refined youth from the Great Sun sect. In order to eradicate the force of the demon god's descent back in Xixian, I've spent a lot of effort personally. It'd be strange if you could obtain such a big secret from a Tao Lord cultivator. However, I can now confirm that the Great Sun sect is a force established by the demon god's descent in the Eastern Xian divine domain. It's actually as strong as the three Taishang mysterious sects. The descent of the demon god is truly terrifying. With your current strength, it's best that you don't come into contact with the Great Sun limitless path. With their strength, they can easily crush you into dust. Your master will find a way to inform that old fellow from Dongxian and have him prepare in advance. Thank you for your trouble, master. After ending his conversation with Xian's Daozu, Su Fong began to prepare for his second entry into the arena of sanguinity. The matter of the Great Sun sect didn't have much to do with him. Since Xian's Daozu had personally intervened, it was naturally not his place to worry. His goal was to become a high-ranking divine general of sanguinity, or even the divine lord of sanguinity, and obtain a protective talisman that would allow him to gain a foothold in the Eastern Xian divine domain. Su Fong didn't know that the #1 killer city was currently in a state of great turmoil. Chapter 27:27. Su Fong was merely a true Dao realm cultivator, and it was probably impossible to find such a low-level cultivator in the Second Star Slaughter City. Supposedly, the dignified city governor of the Second Star Slaughter City had the backing of the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion, yet not only had he failed to suppress Su Fong, he'd even been killed by Su Fong. Now, even the vice city governor and the Tao Lord realm experts of the three supreme mysterious sects and the endless sun path hadn't returned, so the shock it caused was obvious. The city governor's estate had been slapped hard on the face, and its dignity was completely gone. The reputation of the three supreme mysterious sects and the endless sun path had plummeted as well. Everyone was guessing exactly who Su Fong was and what relationship he had with Luo Tian, who'd won 20 battles successively. At the same time, everyone was looking forward to how the city governor's estate and the other two great powers would deal with Su Fong. To everyone's surprise, the three great forces didn't send any more experts to Star Slaughter City. They guessed that the three great powers were afraid. Even a peerless expert at the Tao Lord realm was unable to do anything to Su Fong, so it was useless even if other experts went there. After all, experts that surpassed the Tao Lord realm were restricted by the will of the Blood Valley, and the city governor's estate was unable to send any experts. So, even if the city governor personally made a move, the outcome wouldn't be good. It would be a huge joke if even the city governor fell at Su Fong's hands. Su Fong was in his abode in the valley, and he was preparing to enter the blood slaughter arena for the second time. He'd even sealed all the talismans that were used for communication, so he was naturally unaware of the commotion in Star Slaughter City. Su Fong possessed a practically inexhaustible supply of silver-striped blood fiend pills and blood fiend stones, so he didn't consider the problem of resources to cultivate the blood fiend body at all. After madly devouring blood fiend pills and blood fiend stones and cultivating for over 1,000 years, Su Fong's blood fiend body had ceaselessly improved and ceaselessly condensed slaughter marks on it. Not only had the blood fiend body improved greatly, Su Fong hadn't just comprehended the formations within the Luo Tian wheel, he'd finally grasped all the 1 million formations within the Luo Tian wheel. These formations range from illusory formations to defensive formations and offensive formations. It could be said that they were all-encompassing. Although they were all formations of the lowest level, there were simply too many of them. This allowed Su Fong's attainments and formations to reach an astonishing level. Unfortunately, due to the limitations of his cultivation, he was still unable to reach the level of forming a formation with a single thought. The process of comprehending formations was also the process of cultivating one's primordial spirit. As he mastered more formations, Su Fong's primordial spirit doppelganger improved at an astonishing speed. According to Su Fong's estimations, even if he was unable to execute thought attacks without restraint, merely the attacks of his soul core would be sufficient to crush an ordinary Downlord. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Just as Su Fong had mastered all 1,000,000 low-grade formations in the inner space of the Luo Tian wheel, a violent tremor suddenly erupted from the inner space. In the center of the original formation space, as the space trembled, another independent formation space appeared. The Luo Tian wheel is the supreme Xianbao cultivated by Northern Xian formation masters. It's impossible for it to only have these low-grade formations. Since I've comprehended 1,000,000 low-grade formations, it means that I'm qualified to continue comprehending higher-grade formations. Su Fong's primordial spirit consciousness entered the independent formation space with anticipation. Sure enough, it was as expected. Inside the formation space, there were also balls of light floating, but there were far fewer of them than in the outer formation space. There were only a little over 100,000 of them. Each ball of light contained a formation. Compared to the formations he had cultivated before, they were obviously of a higher level and 10 times more profound. This Luo Tian wheel is indeed a good treasure. Not only can it cultivate the primordial spirit, but it can also allow me to master powerful formations. Su Fong was very happy, and his primordial spirit, doppelganger, focused all its energy on comprehending those high-level formations. Another 2,000 or so passed. It's about time to choose an opponent and prepare to enter the blood slaughter arena. Su Fong ended his cultivation. He took out a rune talisman and unsealed it. He discovered that many people were transmitting their divine wills through the rune talisman. Brother Chen, what's the matter? Su Fong's divine wills were transmitted through the rune talisman. After a while, Dong Chen's voice came from the rune talisman. Brother Su Fong, you're really fine. Su Fong chuckled. Of course I'm fine. Dong Chen couldn't wait to ask. Deputy City Lord Qin and the experts from the other two forces, were they really suppressed by you? Su Fong changed the topic. Brother Chen, did you get the spiritual item I asked you to buy? It's just a small matter. I've already done it for Brother Su Fong. I'll give it to you the next time we meet. Dong Chen's words made Su Fong feel relieved. Brother Su Fong, you must be careful. The three forces will definitely not let you go. Even Dong Xinjun will be against you. I understand. Thank you for your reminder, Brother Chen. After ending his conversation with Dong Chen, Su Fong began to look for a challenger among the many cultivators in the rune talisman. It wouldn't do if they were too weak. Even if Su Fong issued a challenge, no one dared to accept the challenge with Luo Tian's reputation of winning 20 battles in a row. After careful consideration, Su Fong finally chose a challenger based on his opponent's battle record. Just like last time, he chose 20 people this time. Second star, Slaughter City. In a pavilion, a cultivator with disheveled hair and a ferocious aura was holding a rune talisman and issuing a challenge to his opponent. Suddenly, the rune talisman trembled. The disheveled cultivator raised his eyebrows and sneered. Someone actually dares to challenge me? Luo Tian, it's actually Luo Tian. Seeing the challenger's name, the disheveled cultivator's hand trembled, and he almost crushed the rune talisman. That damned Luo Tian, how dare he challenge me? Isn't he picking on the weak? What a shameless rejection. The disheveled cultivator rejected the other party's challenge without hesitation. On a mountain peak next to the city lord's mansion, in a cave residence, a burly man covered in black hair like a savage also received Su Fong's challenge. Luo Tian, humph, I want to see if you're really as powerful as the rumors say. The savage, burly man was about to accept the challenge. Suddenly, a thought flashed out of nothingness and turned into the phantom of a blood-robed cultivator. He looked at the burly man and said majestically, I'm from the city lord's mansion. I can't accept any challenge from Luo Tian. Why? This is the decree of the city lord's mansion. Do you dare to defy it? Yes. The same scene played out everywhere in Second Star Slaughter City. City lord's mansion. The city lord had just passed down the decree when Dong Xinjun's thought came through the air. City lord, has everything been settled? I've naturally completed young master's orders properly. The city lord nodded and then asked in confusion, why does young master want me to stop all practitioners from accepting Luo Tian's challenges? The phantom of Dongxian Jun's thoughts smiled lightly. That Su Fong must be Luo Tian. Since he wants to make a name for himself in the Sanguine Slaughter arena, then give him a chance and lift him up high. The higher he climbs, the harder he'll fall. Young master really thinks highly of Su Fong. You spent so much effort on him. Why don't young master act personally and suppress him directly, then refine him into a slave? This person is extraordinary. Formations, alchemy, and his own strength are worthy of me spending some effort on him. If I can subdue him, I'll be like a tiger that has grown wings. Not only Dongxian, but even the entire Joshuan God realm will have a place for me. Young master is wise. In the valley outside the city, Su Fong's challenges were all rejected, which surprised him. They couldn't all be frightened by the record of 20 consecutive victories, could they? Strange, truly strange. If no one dared to accept the challenge, Blood Valleys would automatically choose an opponent for the challenger. The opponent could be a weakling or a peerless expert who ranked first. BZZT, BZZT, BZZT. The rune talisman suddenly buzzed again and again. Su Fong quickly sent his consciousness into the rune talisman to take a look. Someone had actually issued a challenge. There were exactly 20 people, no more and no less. They had issued a challenge, but no one had accepted it. Now, they had issued a challenge to Su Fong as if they had agreed to do so. It would be strange if there was nothing fishy going on. It looks like the City Lord's residence has already determined that I'm Su Fong, so they plan to surround me with real experts and exhaust me to death on the Sanguine Slaughter arena. The City Lord has a good idea. Su Fong guessed the City Lord's residence's intention and could not help sneering. No matter what kind of opponent the City Lord's residence has prepared for me, what do I have to fear? Su Fong smiled domineeringly and accepted everyone's challenge without hesitation. Suddenly, another person issued a challenge. Manba. That Manba doesn't know what's good for him. He actually took the initiative to challenge me? Seeing the challenger's name, Su Fong was startled. Then Manba transmitted his consciousness. Luo Tian, I challenge you. Do you dare to accept? Without waiting for Su Fong to speak, Manba's voice once again came from the rune talisman. Do you still remember that woman, Qing Xian? She has fallen into my hands. If you don't accept my challenge, I'll immediately crush her head. Qing Xian? Su Fong's heart surged with a fierce aura. In fact, Su Fong and Qing Xian were not particularly close. However, this woman had done her best for Su Fong. Now that she had fallen into Manba's hands, Su Fong naturally would not sit idly by. Su Fong said, let her go first. I accept your challenge. Do you think I'm an idiot? If I let her go, what if you go back on your word and don't accept my challenge? How can I believe you? It's not up to you whether you believe me or not. Su Fong was at his wit's end. He could only accept the challenge. Manba's proud voice came from the rune talisman. I thought you were very powerful, but you're actually an idiot. That woman has already been killed by me. Moreover, before I killed her, I even had fun with her for a few days. Although that woman was not beautiful, she was still a virgin. Killing intent suddenly appeared in Su Fong's eyes. Manba laughed wildly. Do you feel very angry? Come and bite me. Ha ha! I'm deliberately provoking you and disturbing your Tao heart. When the time comes, I'll play you to death on the blood slaughter stage. There's no need to wait until the blood slaughter stage. Su Fong's voice was filled with killing intent. He suddenly activated the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique and displayed the lightning of destiny. QL 11. Chapter 27-28. Manba's shrill cry resounded from within the talisman. That wasn't the end of it. The might of the lightning of destiny wasn't as simple as just obliterating a strand of divine sense. The ability to obliterate destiny followed Manba's divine sense and charged straight towards Manba's main body in the second Starkiller city, and it blasted onto his ethereal destiny. The wild laughter on Manba's face instantly froze. Under the might of the lightning of destiny, his physical body, the avatar in the Tao Palace, his soul, his Tao heart, and everything else were instantly heavily injured. Pooh! 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 Manba spat out over a dozen mouthfuls of blood in succession. and his aura became dispirited and weak. After that, he fell to the ground and was heavily injured. What divine ability was that? Damn it! What terrifying figure did I offend? Man-Ba struggled to stand up, and his entire body was trembling while his eyes were filled with terror and astonishment. And this was because Su Fong didn't really want to kill him. Of course, he wasn't being merciful, and he just wanted to leave him to be dealt with on the blood slaughter arena. Besides that, executing the life-shrinking technique to obliterate a cultivator's destiny consumed a huge amount of life force, and Su Fong didn't want to suffer too much damage before entering the blood slaughter arena. Qing Xian, you died because of me, so the only thing I can do is to pull out the tendons of your enemy and skin him alive before refining his soul for eternity. Within the abode, Su Fong let out a long sigh, and his Dao heart gradually recovered its calm. Executing the life-shrinking technique this time had caused a few more strands of white hair to grow on his temples. However, his Dao heart would be obstructed if he didn't punish Man-Ba, so it was extremely worth paying such a small price to maintain his Dao heart. Around 20 years later, the profound door in the valley was originally in a deathly silent state, but it suddenly trembled and emanated the might of space. Since the profound door could be used, it meant that one could enter the blood slaughter arena. Qin Heng, Wu Meng, both of you stay here and guard the valley. Prevent the city governor's estate from seizing this opportunity to attack the formation. Su Fong gave an order to the two upper Dao Lords. Both of them possessed extraordinary strength at the upper Dao Lord realm, and coupled with the layer upon layer of formations, even the city governor himself wouldn't be able to break through their defenses. Now that he had nothing to worry about, Su Fong's estate. Then, Su Fong used a formation to condense a mask on his face and stepped into the profound door. Space was distorted and divine might wrapped around him before he disappeared into the celestial gate. Su Fong arrived at the blood slaughter arena once again. As soon as he stepped out of the spirit array, he immediately attracted everyone's attention. Luo Tian, he really came. I wonder if he can continue his glory from last time and continue to win 20 matches in a row. I've heard that Luo Tian is Su Fong, the deputy city lord of the second star slaughter city, as well as the experts of the three supreme mysterious sects and the great sun limitless path, all died at his hands. Winning 20 matches in a row on the blood slaughter arena is naturally a piece of cake. I don't think so. This time, the City Lord's mansion will definitely think of a way to kill him. Not to mention winning 20 matches in a row, it will be difficult for him to even keep his life. At this moment, the space where the blood slaughter arena was located was packed with people. There were no empty seats, and even the aisles were filled with people. As soon as they saw Su Fong appear, no one dared to make a sound. Instead, they communicated with each other through their primordial spirits. Su Fong's divine light swept past many cultivators before finally landing on the floating blood slaughter arena in the center. Seeing that there was no one on the blood slaughter arena, Su Fongdao walked towards the central area. Dong Xinichin transmitted his thoughts. Brother Su Fong, you must be careful. I've heard that Dong Xianjun and the City Lord have put in a lot of effort to deal with you this time and have mobilized many experts. Then, Dong Xinchan also transmitted his thoughts to Su Fong. Brother Su Fong, be careful. Su Fong nodded to the two of them, then jumped onto the blood slaughter arena and looked down. Almost all the cultivators of the second star slaughter city had arrived. Even the thrones in the front row were full. These were the true experts who ranked at the top. However, Su Fong did not see Dong Xianjun's figure, so he could not tell who were the experts arranged by the City Lord. Su Fong was too lazy to pay attention to the City Lord's mansion. In front of powerful strength, any conspiracy was nothing. He would do what he had to do. Man-Ba, get up here and die. Su Fong looked at a throne in the second row and shouted coldly. Man-Ba, Luo Tian's first challenger is Man-Ba. Man-Ba is an expert ranked in the top 20. Why did Luo Tian challenge him as soon as he came up? Isn't he too arrogant? Man-Ba stood up from his throne amidst the crowd's discussion. Luo Tian, you used despicable means to set me up. This challenge doesn't count. I'm not fighting anymore. Man-Ba roared at the blood slaughter arena. Everyone was shocked and stunned. Only then did they realize that Man Ba, who used to be awe-inspiring and domineering, was now dispirited and had not recovered from his serious injuries. Su Fong said indifferently, "If you don't want to be obliterated by the Blood Valley's will, then get up here obediently." In the second Star Slaughter City's Blood Slaughter Arena, as long as one accepted a challenge, there was no possibility of backing out. Otherwise, they would be obliterated by the Blood Valley's will. After accepting the challenge, one could not leave the Blood Valley through the Profound Gate. Therefore, once one accepted the challenge, one had to get on the Blood Slaughter Arena. Therefore, there was no way to escape from the Blood Valley. Of course, Man Ba did not want to be obliterated, but he had no choice but to jump on the Blood Slaughter Arena. "I admit defeat," Man Ba shouted loudly as soon as he got on the arena. Su Fong looked at Man Ba coldly and sneered. "Do you think I will agree?" According to the rules of the Blood Slaughter Arena, unless the opponent accepted the challenge, it was useless even if one admitted defeat. It was impossible to escape from the Blood Slaughter Arena. Man Ba gritted his teeth and said, "Luo Tian, don't go too far. I, Man Ba, am also an expert of the profound world. If you dare to kill me, you will be hunted down and will never have peace in the future." Su Fong chuckled. "I dare to kill the geniuses of the three supreme profound sects. Why wouldn't I dare to kill you? How is the force behind you compared to the three supreme profound sects?" Man Ba also knew that he could not threaten Su Fong. He gritted his teeth and said, "I only killed a small cultivator. Moreover, that cultivator has nothing to do with you. Why do you have to be so unforgiving?" Su Fong's body was filled with killing intent. Qing Xuan's life is also a life. Moreover, the dignity of Luo Tian cannot be violated. Those who dare to violate will die. What conditions do you want? I will agree to all of them. Kneel! Su Fong shouted coldly. Man Ba trembled and knelt on the ground with humiliation and resentment. Su Fong stretched out his hand and took out 3 array talismans. He immediately created a trap array and shackled Man Ba in the center of the array. QL11 immediately after, more than 10 slaughter marks appeared under Su Fong's robe and formed a slaughter sword array that attacked Man Ba. Luo Tian, I've already knelt down and admitted my mistake. Don't go too far. Man Ba did not expect Su Fong to make a move. If I cut off your head and admit my mistake, will you agree? Su Fong revealed a cold smile. Chi. The sword array passed through the trap array and shrouded Man Ba. Man Ba was indeed worthy of being one of the top 20 experts in the second Starkiller City. Even though he was heavily injured, he could still activate his defense and slaughter aura to shatter Su Fong's sword array. No rush. Take your time. Su Fong released his slaughter sword chi while activating the array to suppress Man Ba. No matter how extraordinary Man Ba's strength was, he was currently heavily injured and trapped in the array. He could only passively take a beating. Sooner or later, he would not be able to escape the fate of being suppressed. I will fight it out with you. Man Ba was forced into a corner and began to prepare to fight with his life on the line. However, Su Fong did not even give him a chance to fight with his life on the line. First, he used the true eyes of incineration to burn Man Ba's Dao Palace and Origin Soul. Then, the slaughter aura attacked his Dao Heart. He did not even have the chance to burn himself. Then, array talismans turned into layers of array, illusion array, attack array. The array's divine power swept towards Man Ba wave after wave. After holding on for half an hour, Man Ba was at the end of his rope. Whoosh, Su Fong passed through the array formation. The slaughter marks intertwined into a sharp sword chi, directly attacking Man Ba's Dao Heart. After a miserable scream, Man Ba's Dao Heart was shattered. He had completely lost the will to fight back. If you had challenged me openly, I would have killed you at most. But since you are so arrogant, it won't be easy for me to kill you. Su Fong said coldly as he used his divine power to shackle Man Ba. Then, he reached out his hand and grabbed at Man Ba. Chi. Su Fong pulled out Man Ba's blood vessels and muscles from his body. His skin was also peeled off layer by layer. What was peeling off the skin? It was now. Then, Su Fong grabbed Man Ba's body from the Dao Palace and killed him with a burst of slaughter aura. Luo Tian, you will die a horrible death. Kill me if you have the guts. Man Ba let out a miserable scream. When you were torturing Qing Xian, did she also beg you? Su Fong said indifferently. Then, his Yuan spirit body suddenly released a devouring divine power and pulled Man Ba's soul out of his body. Qi, a wisp of primordial spirit power, transformed into a flame of nothingness, enveloping Man Ba's soul and burning it. Man Ba's soul wailed in pain in the Yuan spirit flame. He wouldn't die in a short time, so he could only endure the indescribable pain. Below the blood slaughter stage, there was a deathly silence. Everyone was shocked by Su Fong's ruthless methods. They felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar, and their bodies were oozing with coldness. Dong Xinchan's face was pale with fright. She never thought that the seemingly kind Su Fong would have such a cruel and ruthless side. Fortunately, it's not Su Fong's enemy, but his friend. Dong Xinchan was also trembling with fear, but at the same time, he was also glad. The 20 cultivators who were arranged by the City Lord Mansion to take the initiative to challenge Su Fong were also trembling at this moment. Su Fong put away Man Ba's body and enveloped his soul with Yuan's spirit flame. He absorbed it into the Jiuquan Dao Palace and continued to burn and refine it. From the blood-red star above the blood slaughter stage, a blood-red light shrouded Su Fong. The high-grade and pure blood aura cleansed Su Fong's blood aura. After about half an hour, Su Fong completed the cleansing and came to the side of the blood slaughter stage. Chapter 27-29. Su Fong. Luo Tian is indeed Su Fong. Although the crowd had long determined that Luo Tian was Su Fong's confirmation still caused the crowd to exclaim in surprise. The City Lord Mansion had sent so many experts to hunt down Su Fong, but even Vice City Lord Qin, the experts of the three supreme profound sects and the Great Sun Limitless sect, did not return. At this time, Man Ba, who was ranked in the top 20 of Star Killer City, was also killed by him. Man Ba was already seriously injured before he went on the blood slaughter stage. It was impossible to see Su Fong's true strength after killing Man Ba. However, Su Fong's ruthless methods shocked everyone. Everyone looked at Su Fong. Even the craziest and most bloodthirsty people had awe in their eyes. In the face of Su Fong's domineering challenge, the experts at the City Lord Mansion had prepared in advance were all speechless. No one dared to stand up. Su Fong's sharp eyes swept across the audience and said, "You challenged me before, Su Fong. How come no one dares to go on the stage now?" There was a moment of silence. "I, Feng Cheng, challenge you." A challenger jumped up from below the stage and landed in front of Su Fong. Who is this Feng Cheng? He has guts to challenge Su Fong? He has fought a total of 13 battles on the blood slaughter stage and lost 6. This person's strength is very ordinary. The crowd found Feng Cheng's information and found that his battle record was very ordinary. He actually took the initiative to challenge Su Fong, which puzzled them and caused them to discuss spiritedly. Feng Cheng cupped his fist towards Su Fong and said, "I'm Feng Cheng from..." "There's no need to introduce yourself. Even if you're from the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion, I won't be soft-hearted. Just make your move," Su Fong said domineeringly. Who knew? Feng Cheng suddenly said, "The reason why I challenged Lord Luo Tian was that I wanted to witness Lord Luo Tian's glory. I have no intention of challenging you. I admit defeat." Su Fong was startled. The audience was also in an uproar. What the hell? The City Lord's office had invited an expert to deal with Su Fong. Why did he admit defeat as soon as he stepped onto the stage? Could it be that he was scared after seeing Man Ba get slaughtered? Although Su Fong was very surprised, it was naturally a good thing to be able to obtain a free victory. He immediately nodded and said, "Since you took the initiative to admit defeat, I will not make things difficult for you. You may leave." Feng Cheng was overjoyed. He leapt down from the blood slaughter stage and left the space of the blood slaughter stage under the doubtful and mocking gazes of everyone. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, QL11 Su Fong was cleansed by the blood evil spirit aura, and he felt that his blood evil Dharma body had improved by quite a bit. The power of marrow cleansing was extraordinary. It far surpassed the effects of cultivating with blood demon pills and blood demon stones. I, withering flame, challenge all heaven. A cultivator wearing a flaming mask stepped onto the blood slaughter platform. I'm afraid there will be a fierce battle next. After Su Fong accepted the challenge, he'd studied the 20 challengers a long time ago. This cultivator, called Withering Flame, was an expert at the lower Downward realm. Even though he was only an independent cultivator, his strength was extraordinary, and he'd already obtained over 70 victories and 11 defeats on the blood slaughter platform. Such accomplishments made him extremely highly ranked in the second star city. Withering Flame nodded to Su Fong and said, I, Withering Flame, came to the Blood Valley to cultivate the blood evil Dharma body and not for reputation. I admit that I'm not a match for you, so I'm willing to admit defeat. Another one who admitted defeat, Su Fong, was astounded and shocked. The audience was in an uproar once more. What exactly is the City Lord's office doing? Su Fong realized that something was wrong as well, but it couldn't be any better if he could avoid one more battle. So he said, go on. The third and fourth battles. This continued until the 20th battle. Every single challenger that ascended the stage directly admitted defeat to Su Fong, just like Withering Flame and Withering Flame had done. Su Fong went from being surprised at the beginning to being shocked, and in the end, he was completely confused. Could it be that the City Lord's office had specially sent 20 experts to challenge Su Fong for the sake of giving Su Fong victory after victory? Something was wrong. There was definitely a huge problem. The audience below the blood slaughter platform was deathly silent. Everyone found it hard to believe that Su Fong had obtained 20 victories so easily. Including the previous 20 victories and Man Ba's victory, Su Fong had obtained 41 victories. Such accomplishments could be said to be extremely glorious. However, the last 20 victories had been won so easily and strangely. Su Fong came down from the blood slaughter platform with a heart full of bewilderment. Dong Shinichen sent him a divine sense transmission. Brother Su Fong, be careful. This is probably a scheme of the City Lord's office. I hope that there are more schemes like this. If the City Lord's office gives me another 59 victories, then I'll be extremely grateful to the City Lord. Su Fong smiled as he replied, and then he left the blood slaughter platform through the profound door. After he returned to the gorge outside Second Star Killer City, Su Fong walked out of the formation and returned to his abode. Master, you've returned from the blood slaughter platform so quickly? Qin Hung and Wu Ming, who'd stayed behind to guard the gorge, couldn't help but be astounded when they saw Su Fong return so quickly. When he noticed Su Fong's expression was slightly off, Wu Ming asked, Master, could it be that your training on the blood slaughter platform this time wasn't smooth? It was smooth. It couldn't be any smoother. Su Fong laughed bitterly as he slowly described everything that had occurred on the blood slaughter platform. Strange, it's truly strange. Qin Hung was the Vice City Lord of Second Star Killer City in the past, so he naturally knew the City Lord's character. Giving Su Fong 20 victories for free was absolutely not done with good intentions, but Qin Hung was unable to figure out why the City Lord had ill intentions. Let's not pay any attention to him for now. No matter what the City Lord's schemes are, these 20 victories are genuine. Moreover, these 20 victories have allowed me to form another 3 slaughter marks. Su Fong removed the black robe he wore to reveal his blood-red armor. Shockingly, there were 25 slaughter marks on the diagram of the Star of Slaughter on the blood-red armor. Before he entered the blood slaughter platform, Su Fong had relied on the silver-striped blood baleful pills, blood fiend stones, and the blood fiend avatar he devoured from a large number of cultivators to allow his blood fiend avatar to improve swiftly and condense 22 slaughter marks. After entering the blood slaughter platform this time, Su Fong had obtained a total of 21 victories, and he'd condensed another 22 slaughter marks. It was extremely rare amongst the cultivators of Second Star Killer City to possess over 20 slaughter marks. Moreover, Su Fong's blood fiend avatar was far vaster than the other cultivators. So his 20-plus slaughter marks were even more formidable than other cultivators that possessed a similar number of slaughter marks. No matter what schemes he has, I'll crush them with my formidable strength. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. Right at this moment, a voice that revealed a supreme, imposing aura resounded from the sky above the gorge. Su Fong, come out and see me. Who is it? Su Fong's sensing power passed through the formation and saw a young man standing outside with his hands behind his back. The young man was extraordinarily handsome and had a calm demeanor. He exuded a dominating aura that said everything was under his control. Su Fong's purple fate avatar could also see a mysterious and ethereal purple qi hovering around this person's body. There is also a purple qi hovering above his head, as if there was a canopy above his head. Su Fong was shocked and aghast. This person has unparalleled fate, 100 times more than ordinary cultivators. I've never seen such dense fate since I came to Jiuxuan's God Realm. Extraordinary. This person is extraordinary. Dong Xianjun. Master, that person is Dong Xianjun. Qin Heng also saw the young cultivator, and his expression changed instantly. Dong Xianjun, I've heard of your name for a long time. No wonder you have such amazing fate. I didn't expect you to come here of your own accord. May I know what's the matter? Su Fong walked out of the cave abode and passed through layers of formations, appearing not far from Dong Xianjun. Dong Xianjun sized up Su Fong with a lofty gaze, then nodded. Not bad. You didn't disappoint me. My trip here was not in vain. Su Fong was filled with vigilance as he stared at Dong Xianjun. May I know why the peerless genius of Dongxian Heaven Pavilion has come to see me? Dong Xianjun said, Are you satisfied with the gift I've given you? Gift? Su Fong was stunned, then reacted and raised his eyebrows. You arranged for those 20 challengers to admit defeat? Dong Xianjun nodded in satisfaction. You're smart indeed. You guessed it right away. Those 20 victories are my gift to you. Su Fong was shocked. So it was not the city lord arrangement, but Dong Xianjun's. To be able to arrange 20 victories for Su Fong, it was enough to show Dong Xianjun's power in Second Slaughter City. Su Fong grew more vigilant and asked in a low voice, I have nothing to do with you. Why did you give me 20 victories for no reason? Dong Xianjun revealed a charming smile. You don't have to be nervous. I gave you 20 victories out of goodwill. If you're willing to submit to me, then let alone a mere 20 victories. I can even help you pass through the trials of the blood slaughter stage and become a 3-star divine blood slaughter general. It will be as easy as lifting a finger. Su Fong sneered. Young master Dong Xianjun, why don't you just help me obtain 100 victories, obtain the blood slaughter token, and enter the profound sky ranking? Wouldn't that be better? Dong Xianjun shook his head. I can't help you with that. After all, the blood slaughter platform is controlled by the will of Blood Valley. If you obtain the blood slaughter token through cheating, the will of Blood Valley will detect it and send down a punishment as severe as heavenly punishment. Even I can't bear it. Su Fong asked, You're giving me 20 victories. What do you want from me? You're a smart person, so I'll get straight to the point. Your talent, formation, and alchemy skills are not inferior to some disciples of Eastern Profound Sky Pavilion. I admire you very much. With your help, I'll have a better chance of becoming the top disciple of Eastern Profound Sky Pavilion in the future. Therefore, I'm sincerely recruiting you. As long as you submit to me, I'll give you what you've worked hard for your entire life with just a word. Dong Xianjun's calm voice was filled with an incomparable domineering aura. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. And if I don't? Chapter 2730. Dong Xianjun could easily bestow upon Su Fong what Su Fong couldn't obtain even after a lifetime of hard work. How domineering was this? How much contempt did Dong Xianjun have for Su Fong? Su Fong sneered. What else are you proud of other than your background and identity? Why do you have to look down on Su Fong? There has never been a good-for-nothing in Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion. Among the many disciples of Dongxian Daozu, I'm ranked in the top 10. My achievements today are all due to my talent, luck, and my hard work, as well as the heart of a cultivator who wants to reach the peak even if it means breaking through all obstacles. Everything I have now is all due to my own ability, not the help of my ancestors. Dongxin Jun said slowly. He then stared at Su Fong with disdain. As far as I know, you're from a low-level universe. I've seen plenty of low-born slaves like you who are abandoned by the heavens. You think you're a prodigy from a low-level universe and look down on everyone, but you don't know that you're just a bunch of frogs at the bottom of a well. You're different from other geniuses from low-level universes. Your ability far surpasses theirs, but there's one thing you're no different from them. You're short-sighted and self-righteous. You think you can defy the heavens and rise like you did in the low-level universe with your own ability. Why can't I look down on someone like you? It's your supreme fortune to be valued by me. If you don't grasp it tightly, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Dongxin Jun made a clanging sound, and a sense of superiority and contempt for everything arose spontaneously. There was a moment of silence. Su Fong suddenly revealed a brilliant smile. That's right. I, Su Fong, am indeed from a low-level universe, and a mortal from a low-level universe. I couldn't cultivate since I was young. However, I was able to transcend the shackles of the universe from the lowest level of small world and come to the Jiuquan God realm. I, Su Fong, have killed powerful enemies along the way and overcome difficulties and obstacles. How could a genius like you experience all of that? What qualifications do you have to look down on my Su Fong? You, Dongxin Jun, are only an eagle that can fly in the sky. You look down on those sparrows that can only fly in the bushes and forests. However, how can you be sure that I, Su Fong, am one of those sparrows and not a roaming Kuanpung? You mock us cultivators from low-level universes as frogs at the bottom of a well, lowly slaves. But are you a frog at the bottom of a well yourself? One day, you arrogant eagle will be nothing but a lowly existence in front of Kuanpung. Su Fong exuded a domineering aura. An unyielding and arrogant aura soared into the sky, making Dongxin Jun's aura pale in comparison. Su Fong, your arrogance and conceit are on par with your ability. It seems that even if I use my silver tongue, it will still be difficult to persuade a frog at the bottom of a well like you. Fine, I won't try to persuade you anymore. Dongxin Jun laughed loudly. As far as I know, you've offended the experts of the three supreme mysterious sects. Unless you become a high-level divine blood-kill general and obtain the protection of the Jiuquan heavenly laws, you will die without a doubt. It's as easy as flipping my hand for me to stop you. I can let you win 20 rounds, but I can also let you win none of the following rounds, or even lose your life. If you don't submit, it means that you're giving up the chance to live that I'm giving you. With your intelligence, it shouldn't be difficult for you to make the right choice. Dongxin Jun looked down at Su Fong in a domineering manner. Su Fong said, I, Su Fong, have always held my life and death in my own hands. I will never hand my fate over to others. What's more, you, Dongxin Jun, think you're somebody, but in my eyes, you're no different from those self-satisfied clowns. You want me to submit to you? Are you worthy? A haze appeared in Dongxin Jun's eyes as a strong, murderous aura surged out of his body. However, he quickly returned to normal and looked at Su Fong with disdain and pity. Since you've made your choice, I'll let you know that reality is always crueler than you think. Next, I'll let you know what it's like to climb to the clouds and then fall to the mortal world, to be smashed into pieces. By then, you'll understand that you're nothing in front of me. With that, Dongxin Jun took a step forward and vanished from Su Fong's sight in an instant. Dongxin Jun. Looking in the direction that Dongxin Jun disappeared, Su Fong's eyes were cold. There was a moment of silence. Su Fong suddenly said, Luck Spider, why didn't you do anything when I asked you to devour Dongxin Jun's fortune? A voice that only Su Fong could hear came out of his body. Master, not only is Dongxin Jun's fortune amazing, I can also vaguely feel that his fortune is connected to the entire Eastern Profound Divine Realm. It's obvious that he's being supported by the fortune of the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion. I'm not confident that I can devour his fortune without suffering a backlash unless I grow to a certain level. Su Fong murmured. Dong Xinjun is so powerful. No wonder he's so arrogant. Luck Spider, other than devouring the fortune of cultivators to increase your strength, what else can you do to increase your strength quickly? The fortune of the mystic world is naturally the only thing that can help me increase my strength quickly. If I let you devour the fortune of the mystic world, won't I become the target of the entire Jiushuan divine realm? Su Fong rejected Luck Spider's plan. I like to see how you, Dong Xinjun, can suppress me, Su Fong. Su Fong shuttled through the formation in the air and returned to his residence. Qin Hung, what's Dong Xinjun's status in the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion? Su Fong asked Qin Hung. Dong Xinjun isn't an ordinary disciple. Not only is his cultivation talent amazing, but his status is also extraordinary. He's highly valued by a major figure in the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion and has been personally nurtured. Among the many disciples of the pavilion, he's second only to Daozu's personal disciple. Qin Hung was the vice city lord of the second Starkiller city after all. He could be considered an outer member of the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion, so he more or less knew some internal affairs of the pavilion. Qin Hung continued. Dong Xinjun's cultivation is only at the upper Dao Lord realm. Master, you mustn't underestimate him because of his cultivation. This subordinate once heard the city lord say that Dong Xinjun's ambitions are higher than the heavens. He once vowed to cultivate 6 avatars before becoming a Dao Lord, so he's been suppressing his cultivation all this time. 6 avatars? Su Fong snorted disdainfully. He now had 5 avatars, Xianyang, Primordial Spirit, Violet Fate, and Heavenly Tao. In addition to the Blood Evil avatar, he already had 6 avatars, and each avatar was extraordinary. Moreover, his cultivation was only at the Tao True realm. How could Dong Xinjun compare to him? Just as he said before, Dong Xinjun was an eagle soaring in the sky, but he was a rock galloping across the heavens and earth. Su Fong asked again, what's Dong Xinjun's true strength like? Qin Hung answered, his true strength has probably surpassed the Dao Lord realm. Moreover, he has many powerful divine skills and Xian Bao. He's definitely a powerful figure. Surpassing the Dao Lord realm is indeed extraordinary. But so what? Su Fong's eyes flashed with fierce killing intent. If not for the restriction of the Blood Valley's environment, I can easily kill him with the help of the 6 extreme Dao Saint avatars. It's not like I haven't killed an expert surpassing the Dao Lord realm before. Su Fong began to make preparations for his next entry into the Blood Valley. Next, it would definitely not be as easy as before. He might even have to face a strong opponent like Dong Xinjun directly. How could it be easy to smoothly pass through 100 bloody battles? Su Fong restabilized the formation outside the valley and created a new formation that he had just mastered from the Luo Tian wheel. In this way, he would not have to worry about being disturbed by the city lord's mansion. Then, Su Fong used the power of time in his cave to create a formation that had a time flow 10 times faster than the Blood Valley. This was a new ability that Su Fong had obtained from cultivating the Great Tao of Time technique that he had obtained from Chu Feng, a disciple of the 3 supreme mysterious sects, and the formation that he had mastered. The formation that had a time flow 10 times faster won a lot of time for Su Fong. Within the formation, Su Fong entered into a state of cultivation. Time flew by. Su Fongdao wantonly devoured silver-striped blood demon pills and blood fiend stones, and the blood demon body advanced by leaps and bounds under the shocking accumulation of resources. After spending 30,000 years within the formation, another 12 slaughter marks had been condensed on the blood-red armor, causing it to shockingly attain a total of 45 slaughter marks. Su Fong didn't know how many slaughter marks he would be able to condense if he continued cultivating like this with the help of blood demon pills and blood fiend stones. In the history of the Blood Valley, there had once been a cultivator who had condensed 72 slaughter marks, and that cultivator had been able to kill an upper Dao Lord by relying solely on the blood demon body. The 72 Slayer marks became Su Fong's target. After he successfully condensed 45 slaughter marks, Su Fong felt that it was very difficult to continue improving his blood demon body with just blood demon pills and blood fiend stones. He had to undergo the purification of the blood slaughter platform in order to condense even more slaughter marks and make his blood demon body even stronger. It's time to enter the blood slaughter platform. I wonder what opponents Dong Xianjun and the City Lord's estate have prepared for me this time. They must not be too weak. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile, and then he ended his cultivation and walked out of the formation. As soon as he took out the talisman and removed the seal, Su Fong immediately sensed many divine wills transmitted to him. Most of them were challenging Su Fong, and some wantonly humiliated and cursed Su Fong because Su Fongda didn't accept the challenge. These people had obviously been instigated by the City Lord's estate and had specially come to challenge Su Fong. Dong Xianqin and Dong Xinchan had also transmitted their divine wills, and they were worried about Su Fong's safety. Moreover, they brought news to Su Fong. In order to deal with Su Fong, the City Lord had specially invited a formation master and spared no expense to start training in the human slaughter zone. At this moment, they had already entered the second slaughter city. Besides that, the three supreme mysterious sects and the Great Solar Sect had also sent experts into the second slaughter city. Obviously, they had come for Su Fong. A familiar divine wills transmitted through the talisman. Master, I and the others have already entered the second slaughter city from the human slaughter zone. Where are you now? It turned out that Su Fong had subdued it when he just entered the Blood Valley. Chapter 2731. Huang Jiangpeng, I didn't think that you would also come to the second star killer city. This is great. Su Fong was surprised. Master, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. In first star killer city, I heard the cultivators say that you are extraordinary. I just arrived at second star killer city, yet I heard that you even slaughtered the vice city governor of second star killer city and the upper level Dao lords of the two great powers as if you were slaughtering chickens. Amazing. Truly amazing. This lowly one prostrates himself before you. Huang Jiangping's voice came out from the rune talisman, sounding extremely excited. Back when Huang Jiangping was forced to submit to Su Fong in the Calamity Swamp, he was unwilling to do so. Now that he had seen how powerful Su Fong was, how could he not wholeheartedly submit to Su Fong? Following such a master, how could he worry about not having a good life in the future? Su Fong asked, how many of you have come to second star killer city? 3 died on the first star killer city's blood slaughter platform. Including me, there are 9 people left. All of them are now in the second star killer city. 3 dead? How'd he die? It's all because of that bastard Zhang Sun Yaoyang. He was the one who ordered his subordinates to kill Master's 3 subordinates. Moreover, that bastard didn't hesitate to pay any price. Now, he has entered second star killer city and is living in the City Lord's mansion. That idiot Zhang Sun Yaoyang from the 3 supreme profound sects? He also doesn't want to live anymore. You and the others quickly leave the city and meet up with me. I will ask someone to escort you. Yes. In less than 10 days, Huang Jiangping's group of 9 arrived at the valley. Along with them was Dong Xianqin. It was Su Fong who had asked him to step in and lead the 9 people out of the city. When Dong Xianqin, Huang Jiangping, and the others saw Qin Heng and Wu Meng in Su Fong's abode, they were instantly surprised and shocked. When they learned that Qin Heng and Wu Meng had already submitted to Su Fong, they were once again shocked. The way they looked at Su Fong was also different. Su Fong rewarded Huang Jiangping and his subordinates with a large number of silver-patterned blood demon pills and blood demon stones, allowing them to open up caves and cultivate in the valley. Huang Jiangping and the others were suddenly able to obtain so many resources. Additionally, there was also the legendary silver-patterned blood demon pill, which all cultivators would scramble for. Each and every one of them went wild with joy, grinning from ear to ear. At that time, they were suppressed by Su Fong and had no choice but to submit. They thought that it was the end of the world. Who would have thought that becoming Su Fong's subordinate would bring them so many benefits? This was clearly a great fortune. Su Fong had also obtained the 3 fays that Dong Xianqin had entrusted him to purchase. Dong Xianqin stayed in the valley and chatted with Su Fang. Dong Xinichen was different from the disciples of the major forces that Su Fang had met after coming to the Eastern Profound Divine Domain. Dong Xinichen did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. Instead, he was refined and courteous. Of course, this was also because Su Fang's display of strength and ability was enough to win Dong Xinichen's respect, so he planned to befriend Su Fang. Su Fang took the opportunity to ask Dong Xinichen about Dong Xinzheng and Dong Xinrong. Who knew the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion was so big that it exceeded Su Fang's imagination? Every disciple had their own training grounds, so Dong Xinichen did not know Dong Xinzheng and Dong Xinrong. Dong Xinichen revealed some things about Dong Xinjun to Su Fang and gave him a few more reminders before he left in embarrassment. Su Fang was preparing to enter the blood slaughter arena when an idea suddenly popped into his head. He called Qin Heng over and asked, "Qin Heng, can you let my subordinates accept my challenge and then deliberately lose to me on the blood slaughter arena? Wouldn't that be easy to pass?" Qin Heng hurriedly stopped him. "Master, you absolutely cannot." Su Fang asked in surprise why. This subordinate was once the city lord of the second star slaughter city, so I naturally know some inside information. The Blood Valley is a training ground created by Dong Xindaozu using his supreme ability to refine the corpse of a foreign race expert. The Blood Valley is like a divine weapon that has its own will. Master's method is tantamount to cheating, so the Blood Valleys will naturally detect it. Once the Blood Valleys will descend to punish you, not to mention Master. Even experts who have surpassed the Dao Lord level will be obliterated. It's not like no one has ever done this before. They bribed other cultivators to get away with it. In the end, not only the cheater, but all the other participants were obliterated without leaving a trace. Qin Heng's explanation was similar to what Dong Xinjun had said. Su Fang asked in confusion, "Then why did the city lord allow me to win 20 battles in a row? Isn't he afraid of being detected by the Blood Valley's will? Since the city lord can guard the second star slaughter city, he naturally has a secret method to not be detected by the Blood Valley's will. Perhaps he has a way to communicate with the Blood Valley's will so that the Blood Valleys won't descend to punish you. These are the secrets of Star Slaughter City, so this subordinate doesn't know. However, the city lord can't do this unscrupulously. Otherwise, the training in the Blood Valley would lose its meaning without rules. So that's how it is. In that case, I will use my own strength to kill my way through the vast sea and sky." After Su Fang said this, an aura of disdain erupted from his eyes, an aura. However, Su Fang would never allow himself to be manipulated by the city lord and Dong Xinjun. Instead, he wanted to take the initiative in his own hands. This time, he didn't take the initiative to choose an opponent, nor did he accept any challenge. According to the rules of the Blood Slaughter platform, a cultivator who didn't have an appointment beforehand could directly accept the challenge of any cultivator on the Blood Slaughter platform. By doing so, it meant that Su Fang wanted to challenge everyone with his own strength. This method was very extreme and could even be called crazy. Very few cultivators dared to do this. Su Fang decided to simply show off this time. He planned to directly step onto the platform to accept the challenge and kill everyone. It was time for the Blood Slaughter platform to open once again. Su Fang still left the experts under his command to guard the valley's array formation. Then, he stepped into the profound gate alone and was sent out of the valley by the array formation's divine power, entering the space of the Blood Slaughter platform. Unlike last time, there weren't many cultivators in the space of the Blood Slaughter platform this time. Su Fang directly appeared with his original appearance this time, so no one recognized him. After all, not many people had seen his original appearance before. Therefore, no one paid attention to Su Fang. He casually found a throne in the last row and sat down. Then, he closed his eyes and began to meditate. After waiting for more than an hour, a burst of awe-filled exclamations resounded throughout the space of the Blood Slaughter platform. Su Fang looked towards the source of the sound and suddenly raised his eyebrows. He saw a familiar figure shuttling out of the profound gate. It was Dong Xinjun. Dong Xinjun has come to the Blood Slaughter platform again. I wonder who will be the unlucky one this time. Over the years, Dong Xinjun has won more than 80 matches in a row. It looks like he plans to win 100 matches and obtain the Blood Slaughter token. In the second star Slaughter City, no one dares to accept Dong Xinjun's challenge, much less challenge him. Every time, the will of the Blood Valley randomly selects a challenger from the numerous cultivators. Whoever is selected by him is unlucky. If I'm selected, I'll just admit defeat. Admit defeat? If one goes all out on the Blood Slaughter platform, then Dong Xinjun might be able to let his opponent go. If one admits defeat as soon as the battle begins, then one will be killed mercilessly. So, it's useless to admit defeat. Presently, no one in the second star Slaughter City can stop Dong Xinjun. Probably only Su Fong is qualified to fight him. The discussions in the surroundings were clearly heard by Su Fong, who'd attained perfection in his hearing. Dong Xinjun, I'll fight you sooner or later. It would naturally be for the best if I'm able to fight you this time. A strand of fierce energy surged in Su Fong's heart. Under the gazes of everyone present, Dong Xinjun stepped foot onto the Blood Slaughter platform. His opponent was a cultivator at the lower Downlord realm, and he was absolutely a formidable expert in the second star Slaughter City. Unfortunately, he'd encountered Dong Xinjun. Dong Xinjun didn't utilize the Eastern Profound Pavilion's divine ability, and he utilized the Blood Slaughter avatar to attack directly. Surprisingly, there were 54 slaughter marks on his blood-red armor, and it caused all the cultivators present to be extremely shocked. That cultivator persisted on the Blood Slaughter platform for less than the time for an incense stick to burn before he gave up resisting in the end, and he knelt down and begged for mercy from Dong Xinjun. I'm still unable to find an opponent. The tempering on the Blood Slaughter platform in the second star Slaughter City is already meaningless. Dong Xinjun's interest was dampened, and then a strand of slaughter will flashed out and forcefully shattered the Dao heart of that cultivator, who knelt down and begged for mercy. After that, Dong Xinjun leaped off the Blood Slaughter platform in a composed manner. Throughout this entire process, it felt like he was on a scenic tour. Dong Xinjun walked towards a profound door when he suddenly stopped moving. Su Fong? Swoosh! Swoosh! Dong Xinjun's words instantly drew the attention of everyone in the surroundings. Su Fong? He's that Su Fong who's rumored to have killed the vice city governor of the second star Slaughter City and 2 other great powers? He looks very ordinary. Looks like the rumors are wrong. No matter how heaven-defying a mere Dao True Realm cultivator is, it's impossible for him to suppress an expert at the upper Downlord realm. When everyone saw Su Fong's cultivation, they instantly doubted the rumors about Su Fong. Dong Xinjun stared at Su Fong. I never expected that you'd actually come to the Blood Slaughter platform as well. According to my knowledge, you didn't arrange a battle this time. Could it be that you've come to the Blood Slaughter platform this time just to watch the battles? Young Master Dong Xinjun, you seem to be very worried about my Su Fong. Su Fong smiled casually while his tone carried ridicule. Audacious fellow, you actually dare to be rude to young Master Dong Xinjun? Quickly kneel down and admit your guilt to young Master Dong Xinjun. Some cultivators that intended to flatter Dong Xinjun started berating Su Fong. Su Fong swept those cultivators with his cold and indifferent gaze. It's not too late for all of you to challenge my Su Fong. The berating voices instantly stopped abruptly. Challenge Su Fong? Not many people had the courage to do so. Dong Xinjun smiled and said domineeringly, if you die, then I'll have one less slave that's worthy of my attention. So, I naturally have to spend some effort on you. The outcome won't just disappoint you, it'll make you slap your own face. Su Fong spoke calmly, and then he closed his eyes and paid no further attention to Dong Xinjun. Dong Xinjun calmly passed through the profound door and left the Blood Slaughter platform. The bloody battles on the Blood Slaughter platform continued to play out. It continued for half a month. No more cultivators ascended the Blood Slaughter platform, and the space there started to tremble slightly, indicating that it was about to end. Many cultivators thought that it was over, and some prepared to leave the Blood Slaughter platform. At this moment, Su Fongda strode towards the Blood Slaughter platform and leaped onto it. I, Su Fong, issue a challenge to all the participants of the Second Star Slaughter City. Chapter 2732. As Su Fong's voice reverberated, the blood slaughter platform space suddenly stopped shaking. This was because Su Fong had challenged all the cultivators in the city by himself, which had attracted the attention of the blood slaughter platform's will. The competition on the blood slaughter platform, which was about to end, would continue. Below the blood slaughter platform, there was a deathly silence. Gazes filled with shock and horror were all focused on Su Fong. Su Fong's actions could be said to be shocking. All the cultivators in Second Star Slaughter City, except for those who had lost their blood fiend armor bodies and were temporarily staying in the city, were considered experiencers. This included the city lord, who was also included in the experiencers. At this time, Su Fong had issued a challenge to everyone. In other words, all the experiencers in Star Slaughter City, including the city lord, could challenge Su Fong, and Su Fong had to accept. Moreover, Su Fong had to fight until no one dared to challenge him. Otherwise, he would have to continue fighting. This kind of challenge was equivalent to one person suppressing an entire city. It was also known as the Battle of Suppressing a City. To challenge all the experiencers in Second Star Slaughter City and suppress an entire city by himself. What kind of courage did this require? Everyone knew that Dong Xinjun and the City Lord's Mansion were thinking of ways to deal with Su Fong. The City Lord's Mansion had already issued a strict order in Second Star Slaughter City that all cultivators were not allowed to accept Su Fong's challenge. The City Lord's Mansion had secretly arranged for many truly powerful experts to constantly challenge Su Fong, preparing to surround and suppress Su Fong with experts. As long as one person could defeat Su Fong, it would mean that Su Fong would not only fail the experiencers, but he would also not be able to leave the blood slaughter platform alive. Little did they know, Su Fong actually did the opposite and took the initiative to challenge all the experiencers in the city. This was equivalent to giving Dong Xinjun and the city lord a resounding slap in the face. Didn't you plan to send experts to challenge me one by one? Then I'll challenge the entire city. Who could compare to such a domineering and heroic spirit? Even Dong Xinjun did not have the courage to challenge the entire city. At this moment, an unparalleled domineering and heroic aura of, even if there are tens of millions of people before me, I will still go forward, soared into the sky above the blood slaughter arena, shocking everyone present. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Just as everyone was in a state of intense shock, the runes in their bodies began to move. He took it out to have a look. A character condensed from the supreme will of the Blood Valley appeared in everyone's rune talisman. These words were very short, but they were cold and domineering. Su Fong challenges all the one-star heavenly slaughter generals in the Second Starkiller City. It wasn't just the cultivators inside the space of the blood slaughter platform. All the cultivators with the status of one-star divine slaughter general in Second Star Slaughter City and outside the city received this news at the same time. Siege battle. They are actually going to launch a siege battle. Is Su Fong crazy? He wants to challenge all the cultivators in the city by himself. The Second Star Killer City was in an uproar. Su Fong is crazy, too crazy. When Dong Xinchen received the news, he was so scared that he directly threw out the rune talisman. Dong Xinchan's face was pale, and then it turned red. Even a delicate girl like her felt the blood in her body burning because of Su Fong's domineering and heroic aura. Crazy person, you don't know what death is. The city lord sneered disdainfully. Dong Xinjun's eyes, which were like an ancient well, also revealed shock. Then he snorted inexplicably. Su Fong, are you planning to die to prove your sincerity? Haha, I still underestimated your Dao heart. I will let you know that in front of powerful forces and strength, your actions will make you a laughingstock. In a luxurious palace deep in the city lord's mansion, Zhang Sun Yaoyang also received the news through the rune talisman. Zhang Sun Yaoyang sneered proudly. Su Fong, this time, let's see how this young master will kill you. The profound doors that led to the space of the blood slaughter arena were reactivated. Almost all the cultivators in Second Star Killer City entered the space of the blood slaughter arena through the profound doors. In less than 2 hours, the entire space of the blood slaughter arena was packed with people. Not only the thrones, but even the aisles were packed with people. Dong Xianjun, the city lord, and the top 10 participants, these big shots who rarely showed their faces, all appeared at this moment. Everyone was intimidated by Su Feng's imposing manner. For a short time, no one came forward to challenge Su Feng. At this time, his momentum was at its peak. No one wanted to throw away their lives at this time. Su Feng, Zhang Sun Yaoyang suddenly shouted from the first row of thrones. The reason he could sit in the front row was naturally because of his extraordinary identity, not because of his strength. Although he was now a half-step 1-star blood slaughter general, in terms of true strength, he was not even a 9-star blood slaughter commander. Young Master Zhang Sun, are you planning to challenge me? Su Feng looked at Zhang Sun Yaoyang, his tone cold and murderous. Zhang Sun Yaoyang could not help but shudder. Then, he sneered domineeringly. What kind of person am I? Why would I lower myself to fight with you, a slave from the heaven-forsaken race from a low-level universe? Su Feng said indifferently, since you don't dare to challenge me, then shut up. Although I won't fight you personally, I'll let people slowly play you to death. Zhang Sun Yaoyang shouted arrogantly as he pointed at Su Feng. He stood up and shouted to the many cultivators behind him, I've decided. Whoever challenges Su Feng, regardless of the outcome, will receive 10,000 blood evil stones and 109 pattern blood evil pills from the Chamber of Commerce. Whoosh! The crowd was in an uproar. Many cultivators' eyes turned red. For most of the participants, 10,000 blood evil stones were easy to earn if they worked a little harder. However, the 9-pattern blood evil pill was an extremely rare treasure in the Second Slaughter City. Only the silver pattern blood evil pill could surpass it. Someone behind him asked loudly, Young Master Zhang Sun, do you mean what you say? What I have is money. Why would I have such a small amount of money? If you don't believe me, I can swear to the Blood Valley's will. Zhang Sun Yaoyang pointed at the stars above the blood slaughter arena and said resolutely. Many cultivators looked at the blood slaughter stage with eyes that shined brightly. They felt that Zhang Sun Yaoyang was like a piece of fat meat that had attracted the greed of a pack of wolves. Dong Xianjun and the city lord stood firm. Since the idiot Zhang Sun Yaoyang had stepped forward, they were naturally happy to be idle. Zhang Sun Yaoyang looked at the blood slaughter arena and sneered proudly. Su Feng, you do have some skills, but so what? What I have is money. This time, I'll use money to smash you to death. No matter how capable you are, how many rounds can you last? 10 rounds? 20 rounds? Haha. Fighting with me is like fighting with money. Can you win against money? Su Feng smiled sharply. Come, I'll wait. Zhang Sun Yaoyang was about to give the order when the city lord suddenly said, For those who challenge the arena, I will also offer the same reward as young Master Zhang Sun. However, if you're not strong enough, then forget it. Not only will you be throwing your life away, you'll also be giving Su Feng a victory. As expected of the city lord of the Second Star Slaughter City, he was afraid that those who challenged the arena would be trash. If Su Feng won 100 rounds, then it would be equivalent to smashing his own foot with a rock. Dong Xianjun also said, same for me. For those who challenge Su Feng, I will also offer 10,000 blood evil stones and 109 vein pills. If Su Feng is suppressed, I will make an exception and accept him as my follower. Swish, 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 swish. Many cultivators' eyes turned red in an instant. Murderous auras spread out, making the entire blood slaughter arena seem like a slaughter hell. A cultivator shouted to the city lord and Dong Xianjun, I am Meng Yuan, ranked 21st in the Second Star Slaughter City's blood slaughter arena. Do I have the qualifications to challenge Su Feng? The city lord nodded. Yes. Thank you, city lord. Thank you, young Master Dong Xianjun and young Master Zhang Sun Yaoyang. The cultivator, named Meng Yuan, was overjoyed as if he had received a supreme fortune. He said to Dong Xianjun, If I win and suppress Su Feng, young Master Dong Xianjun, don't forget your promise. After saying that, he went straight to the blood slaughter arena. Su Fong, people have been praising you to the heavens all these years, but I'm still not convinced. This time, I'll show you your true colors and use your head to achieve my future. Meng Yuan looked at Su Fong with disdain in his eyes. Boom! Before Meng Yuan's arrogant voice could settle, Su Fong's flame-stepped treasured boots suddenly erupted with power, and he charged out like lightning. As his body swayed, the shadow of a pagoda appeared from his body. It exploded with the power of the 6 great divine powers and swept toward Meng Yuan with a crushing force. Boom! 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 Su Fong's Xianwang Dharma body was cultivated from the 6 great spiritual items and thoughts of the 6 extreme Tao Saint Dharma body. At the same time, the Dharma body merged with the power of experts like Xian Tiansheng and Ancestral Dragon. Although Meng Yuan's strength was extraordinary, he was defeated in the face of Su Fong's Xianwang Dharma body's all-out attack. He was forced to retreat. Go to hell. Meng Yuan was eager to show off in front of Dongxian Jun to win Dongxian Jun's attention, who knew that he would be at a disadvantage right from the start. He was instantly enraged and released his thoughts. With a boom, a huge wave swept over and attacked Su Fong's body and Dao Heart with the force of a tsunami. It felt like Su Fong was a small boat that was in the middle of a stormy sea and could be crushed by the huge wave at any time. Chi! Su Fong used the true eyes of extermination, and a needle-like thought flashed past. QL 11-inch. Meng Yuan felt like his soul was pricked by a fiery red needle, and he immediately let out a scream. The power, will, and Taoist rhyme that were attacking Su Fong instantly withered. Su Fong took advantage of the situation and attacked. In the state of the Xianwang Dharma body, he punched Meng Yuan's blood armor. Crack! 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 The blood armor shattered, and so did the blood demon Dharma body and physical body. Boom! 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 Under Su Fong's powerful attacks, Meng Yuan's entire body exploded, and he died on the spot. Su Fong no longer had any scruples. He put away the Xianwang Dharma body and merged the blood demon Dharma body with his physical body. Then he opened his mouth and inhaled. Hiss! Hiss! After Meng Yuan's blood demon Dharma body collapsed, it turned into the blood demon Dharma body. Su Fong directly sucked it into his blood demon Dharma body. He can devour a cultivator's blood demon Dharma body directly. Chapter 2733. A cultivator's blood demon avatar couldn't be possessed or devoured by other cultivators. Otherwise, how tragic would it be for cultivators to kill each other? Su Fong was wantonly devouring cultivators' blood demon avatars and vitality. This scene was so shocking that it was no wonder people were so shocked. The city lord said in a cold voice, "Everyone has the right to kill evil cultivators." Su Fong sneered. At this time, a bloody light descended from the bloody star above the blood slaughter arena and enveloped Su Fong. The pure and high-level blood demon aura cleansed Su Fong's blood demon avatar. This time, the purity of the blood demon aura is much higher than before. This is probably the reward given by the will of the Blood Valley for challenging all the cultivators in the city. Su Fong's Tao Heart and will withstood the shocking impact of the murderous aura. The blood fury spell body was improving at a visible speed. Under the robe, the murderous star pattern on the blood armor was constantly surging with a majestic murderous aura. Chi! Su Fong could clearly feel that another slaughter mark had been successfully condensed. There are now 46 slaughter marks. It's difficult to improve my blood demon avatar by swallowing blood demon pills, blood demon stones, and other means. The only thing left is the blood slaughter arena. Everyone thought that the reason why I proposed a battle to suppress the city was because I was forced into a desperate situation. There are also people who thought that I was overestimating my capabilities. However, who would know that I was forcing myself into a desperate situation in order to rapidly increase my strength? I didn't intend to get the blood slaughter token and be listed on the mysterious sky ranking. This time, I'm going to suppress the second place, Star Killer City, and win 100 battles to get the Blood Slaughter token and become a peerless genius on the Mysterious Sky ranking. Su Fong's face revealed a confident smile. After the marrow cleansing was completed, Su Fong looked at the Blood Slaughter arena and shouted domineeringly, "Who's the second? You've only won one battle. What's there to be arrogant about?" Zhang Sun Yaoyang sneered. Then he shouted to the cultivators below the Blood Slaughter arena, "Go! Continue. Whoever can hurt that kid will be rewarded with a high-grade Xian Bao in addition to my previous promise." "I'll do it." A bald cultivator with a murderous aura and a blood-red cloak jumped onto the Blood Slaughter arena in large strides. "Boy, in my eyes, you're just 30,000 blood demon stones, 309 mark pills, and a high-grade Xian Bao." The bald man laughed wildly at Su Fong. "In the eyes of Su Fong, you are nothing more than a corpse. Then, you will become my cultivation material." Su Fong, chi. An astonishing murderous aura passed through the robe and converged into a murderous frenzy, rolling toward the bald man. "Die!" With Su Fong's cold voice, the murderous aura crushed the bald man's Dao heart. His will collapsed completely. Even his primordial spirit, consciousness, and origin soul were obliterated. The second opponent was crushed. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, Su Fong calmly devoured the bald-headed, burly man's baleful blood avatar. As for the corpse, it was sucked into the Jiushuan Dao Palace by Su Fong and handed over to the ancestral Graygon for disposal. After being cleansed by the blood demon Qi again, Su Fong looked down at the arena and said in an indifferent voice, "The third one, come." Zhang Sun Yaoyang snorted. "It's just the beginning. Let's see how long you can be proud of yourself. Who's next? The promise I made just now is still valid." "I'll do it." A middle-aged cultivator stepped onto the Blood Slaughter arena. The cultivators who entered the Blood Valley had their consciousness eroded by the Blood Valley's murderous aura. They became bloodthirsty and crazy. Su Fong killed 2 people in a row. Some people were afraid, but some people's murderous intent was aroused, and their consciousness was uncontrollable. This middle-aged cultivator was one of them. "Although I'm only ranked in the 50s, I've cultivated for many years and have condensed 28 slaughter marks. It's enough for me to be ranked among the top 10 cultivators in the 2nd-star slaughter city. I'd like to see how far a true Dao cultivator like you can cultivate your blood demon Dharma body." The middle-aged cultivator stared at Su Fong with murderous intent. Su Fong snorted. "Is 28 slaughter marks very powerful? Then I'll show you how powerful 28 slaughter marks are." The slaughter marks on the middle-aged cultivator's blood armor appeared together and quickly intertwined to form a battle saber. The battle saber was more than 10 feet long and exuded a sharp and majestic murderous aura. It was like an unparalleled weapon that had killed countless lives. "Kill!" The middle-aged cultivator wielded the battle saber and slashed down at Su Fong. Chi! Slaughter marks came out from Su Fong's dermic robe and tore it to pieces. 46 slaughter marks condensed into a formation and flashed into the void. 46 slaughter marks. Below the Sanguine Massacre platform, there were exclamations. One had to know that Dong Xinjun had only cultivated 54 slaughter marks up until now. Su Fong had entered the 2nd Sanguine City for less than 30,000 years. It was shocking that he could condense so many slaughter marks, second only to Dong Xinjun. I didn't expect Su Fong to be so powerful. Dong Xinchan, who had been worried about Su Fong, finally breathed a sigh of relief. Dong Xinchan said with a smile, "I'm far inferior to this guy. In the 2nd Sanguine City, only he can catch up to Dong Xinjun." Dong Xinjun was not surprised to see Su Fong's slaughter marks. Then, his desire to subdue Su Fong and make him a silver-striped blood demon pill became even stronger. Puff, 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 puff. The middle-aged cultivator's battle saber was cut into pieces by the formation. The murderous intent and aura it contained also collapsed. The formation then killed the middle-aged cultivator. Inside Su Fong's array formation with his slaughter chi, the middle-aged cultivator simply did not have the ability to resist. He won another round. Again, after Su Fong was cleansed by the blood demon aura, Zhang Sun Yaoyang couldn't wait to shout angrily. The fourth round was not much different from the previous one. Facing Su Fong's murderous attacks, the cultivators on the platform could only hold on for half an hour before they were killed in the end. The fifth one, Su Fong was like a cold killing machine. The fifth round, the sixth round, Su Fong was invincible. All the challengers on the platform were crushed by him. However, Su Fong's consumption was also huge. The blood demon aura cleansing could not restore him, and the silver-striped blood demon pill's recovery ability was gradually unable to keep up with the huge consumption. Most importantly, no matter if it was the slaughter avatars that wantonly devoured cultivators or the blood demon aura cleansing, all of them dealt an enormous blow to Su Fong's soul core. Coupled with the repeated slaughter, it caused him to be in a state of losing control. Up until the 10th round, Su Fong's aura had become dispirited and listless. His eyes flickered with a shocking bloody glow while blood surged on his blood-red armor, and he seemed like a machine that only knew how to slaughter madly. Zhang Sunyayang's spirits were instantly refreshed, and he shouted loudly, "He can't hold on any longer. If we don't go up and take advantage of him now, then when will we?" The desire to slaughter of some true experts burned, and coupled with the temptation of enormous benefits, they fought to ascend the platform. QL 11, the 11th round. A disheveled cultivator at the lower Dalord realm was trapped by Su Fong's talismans, and then Su Fong relied on the divine might of numerous talismans to annihilate the cultivator. The 12th round. The 13th round. Su Fong was clearly an arrow at the end of its flight, yet he'd actually persisted until the 18th round and still stood towering on the blood slaughter arena. After he'd cleansed himself repeatedly, 50 slaughter marks had already been condensed on his blood-red armor. However, the blood markings on his blood slaughter avatar seemed to have dimmed down while its killing intent was dispirited. Obviously, it wouldn't be able to persist for long and would fall to the ground at any moment. A group of idiots. You can't even kill a piece of trash that can be blown away by a gust of wind. Idiots. All of you are idiots. Zhang Sun Yaoyang fell into a frenzied state when he saw Su Fong was still standing on the blood slaughter arena since the beginning, and he shouted furiously at the cultivators below the arena. Su Fong ridiculed. "Zhang Sun Yaoyang, since you want to kill me so badly, then why don't you come up here yourself? Perhaps a single breath from you would cause me to collapse." "Su Fong, don't be arrogant. There's still a long way to go." Zhang Sun Yaoyang gnashed his teeth as he spoke. After that, he shouted furiously at the cultivators below the arena. "I'll reward anyone who kills Su Fong with a top-grade Xianbao. A top-grade Xianbao." The gazes of all the cultivators instantly burned with desire. However, when they saw Su Fong standing loftily on the blood slaughter arena, most of them dispelled such thoughts. The talismans in Su Fong's possession were like worthless pieces of paper, and merely those talismans that were difficult to deal with were capable of exhausting most of them to death. No matter how good the treasures Zhang Sun Yaoyang offered were, one had to be alive to obtain them. There were still some cultivators that were hesitating and watching. "Young Master Yaoyang, let me go." A cultivator by Zhang Sun Yaoyang's side spoke abruptly. This person was a short, middle-aged man that was only as tall as a 12 or 13-year-old child. However, his aura was empty, and he was surprisingly an expert at the intermediate Dalord realm. Moreover, he was from the three supreme mysterious sects, so his true strength absolutely suppressed ordinary intermediate Dalords and was comparable to an expert at the upper Dalord realm. Zhang Sun Yaoyang waved his hand. "Go on. Don't bring shame to me." The short middle-aged man leaped up onto the arena, and then he gazed at Su Fong with a fierce gaze as he said with a ghastly killing intent, "That Dalord you killed in the Calamity Swamp was my junior brother. I specially rushed over from the three supreme mysterious sects and entered Blood Valley to temper myself for the sake of killing you. You're ascending the blood slaughter arena for the sake of meeting your junior brother, right? I'll fulfill your wish." Su Fong spoke coldly and indifferently. How arrogant! Your bloodslaughter avatar is extraordinary indeed. Unfortunately, your cultivation is too low while the bloodslaughter avatar consumes an enormous amount of energy. On the other hand, your talismans are only capable of releasing some low-level formations, so they're utterly unable to harm me. You don't have the qualifications to be arrogant before me at all. Don't worry, Elder Zhu Xan entrusted me with this task, so I won't kill you. At most, I'll destroy your Dao palace, shackle your soul, and hand you over to Elder Zhu Xan to be dealt with. At the same time, let me remind you that Elder Zhu Xin is the most skilled in torturing others in the three supreme mysterious sects. You can't even die if you fall into her hands. Chapter 2734. That short middle-aged man from the three sovereign mysterious sects seemed to be right. The reason Su Fong was able to crush his opponents on the blood slaughter arena was because of his formidable blood slaughter avatar and an inexhaustible supply of talismans. Now, Su Fong's blood slaughter avatar had been greatly exhausted, so the might of the talismans was unable to threaten an intermediate Dao Lord. At the very least, as far as the short middle-aged man was concerned, Su Fong could only allow himself to be captured. Then why don't you give it a try? Su Fong struck out with a talisman, and then numerous Xian Guang shot out violently and descended around the short middle-aged man. The short middle-aged man laughed coldly with disdain and allowed Su Fong to activate the talismans. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Numerous Xian Guang emerged from the void, and they interweaved together and transformed. In an instant, they transformed into a formation space that was filled with boundless yellow sand. An illusory formation? Moreover, it isn't an ordinary formation. Could it be that you're really a formation master? Otherwise, how could you possibly create such an extraordinary formation? The short middle-aged man was stunned, and he seemed to be very surprised. After sensing it for a moment, he laughed coldly with disdain. An illusory formation is nothing more than an illusion created by a formation to affect the will of a cultivator with the Dao heart, causing the cultivator to get lost within it and exhaust the cultivator's energy, Dao heart, and will. I've grasped the divine ability of the three sovereign mysterious sects, so how could I possibly be affected by an illusory formation? A strand of the supreme will of the heaven Dao rumbled as it erupted, and then the various illusions in the surroundings that affected the Dao heart and will started to collapse layer by layer before finally collapsing completely and transforming into nothingness. Little did he know, outside the illusory formation, Su Fong had seized the opportunity to create layer after layer of confinement formations with talismans. Moreover, they weren't ordinary talismans, and they were condensed in a form by a formation of an even higher level that Su Fong possessed. At this moment, the divine might of the formation formed by these talismans caused the short middle-aged man to feel as if he'd fallen into layer upon layer of cages. Confinement formations were unlike offensive formations. Even though they didn't possess any offensive might, they were the most difficult to deal with, and those who didn't know about formations could only break through them with brute force. Under the supreme great Tao of space ability of the three supreme profound sects, all formations are useless. The short middle-aged man deserved to be expected of someone from the three sovereign mysterious sects, and he was an expert at the intermediate Daolord realm. Strands of thoughts shot out from between his brows to erupt with divine might to tear space, and they were like swift blades that cut through a tangled knot to cut to pieces to shatter layer after layer of formations. Let's see if your speed of breaking the formation is faster, or if my speed of setting up the formation is faster. Su Fong smiled lightly and shot out one formation talisman after another. To strands of the sovereign mysterious divine ability, and to the formation to Yang Chun, to mysterious, to heaven's Tao, was Tao, to mysterious divine abilities. Yang of the Tao, of a formation Hevto kill, to kill. To him, to Yang, to the Tao, to him. To him, to the he, to him, to be, to escape. To the be was to be, trapped, to be a mysterious, Only now did he realize that the problem was slightly serious, and he calmed down and concentrated on breaking through the formations. After Su Fong formed numerous talismans to trap the short middle-aged man, he started to sit down cross-legged on the blood slaughter arena, and then he wantonly devoured blood baleful pills to recover his blood baleful clone. An extremely strange scene had appeared on the blood slaughter arena that was supposed to be a scene of frenzied slaughter. The battle within the formation was in full swing, whereas outside the formation, Su Fong was sitting cross-legged in a carefree manner to recover, and he was extremely relaxed. Dong Xinichin smiled and said, "This fellow, Su Fong, is really cunning. That cultivator from the three sovereign mysterious sects will die once he recovers." Zhang Senyaoyang was infuriated, and he cursed. "Idiot! Why are there so many idiots by this young master's side?" The city governor shouted in a low voice. "He's stalling for time to recover. We must charge out of the formation at all costs and kill him before he recovers." Swoosh! The short middle-aged man also realized that something was amiss. He no longer held back and released a Dharma body. His Dharma body was very strange. It was not corporeal, but a humanoid phantom condensed from streams of light. It gave off a terrifying feeling of time changing. "Break!" The Dharma body let out an angry roar, and it felt as if the voice came from the distant ancient times. A powerful will and Taoist rhyme instantly enveloped the surroundings, passing through the formation. Following that, the power of time erupted. Within the range of the divine might, the flow of time suddenly accelerated, surpassing the flow of time in the real world by 100 times. Boom, boom, boom. Under the power of time, the energy that maintained the operation of the formation rapidly dissipated. The formation also shattered layer by layer before finally collapsing with a loud bang. The short middle-aged man let out a long roar filled with pride. His Dharma body released his thoughts and turned into a flying sword condensed from the power of time, shooting towards Su Fong. "Your junior brother died under my blood baleful Dharma body. Today, you will follow in his footsteps." A vertical eye suddenly split open between Su Fong's brows, and a divine might phantom shot out from it. Huff! The phantom instantly swept through the sky and transformed into a rod. It carried an imposing aura that could shatter the heavens and the earth as it drew over the baleful energy in the space around the blood slaughter arena, and it swept towards the short middle-aged man. A ferocious and overbearing slaughter intent blasted the short middle-aged man's thoughts into pieces, and then the enormous rod smashed down onto the Dharma body and blasted it into pieces. This was the true strength of Su Fong's blood slaughter Dharma body. It possessed the innate divine ability of the demon monkey, and it was ferocious and overbearing. Its might had doubled on the blood slaughter arena, and it could easily crush the Dharma body of a mid-Dao Lord. The short middle-aged man's Dharma body had been annihilated, and only his physical body and blood slaughter Dharma body remained. Moreover, he just entered the second Starkiller city not too long ago, and his blood slaughter Dharma body had only condensed 3 slaughter marks. So, how could he go against Su Fong? He persisted for less than 10 breaths of time before the short middle-aged man's physical body and blood slaughter Dharma body were annihilated by Su Fong, and his corpse became Su Fong's cultivation material. "Zhang Senyaoyang, what other formidable subordinates do you have? Send them all over?" Su Fong gazed at Zhang Senyaoyang and ridiculed him. Zhang Senyaoyang couldn't help but gnash his teeth. That short middle-aged man was the most formidable expert under his command, yet he'd been killed by Su Fong. So, wouldn't sending more people to their deaths as well? "Dong Xinjun, Lord City Governor, where are the experts that both of you intend to challenge me? Why haven't you sent them over yet? Or perhaps Dong Xinjun will make a move yourself." Su Fong had actually directly provoked Dong Xinjun with an arrogant and disdainful tone. "You don't have the qualifications to make me make a move myself. Once you obtain 99 victories, then you'll have the qualifications to make me make a move myself. At that time, I'll knock you down from the clouds and consign you to eternal damnation." Dong Xinjun smiled disdainfully. An unparalleled domineering aura rose spontaneously, as if he could control life and death. Then he said to the city governor, "Su Fong is already an arrow at the end of its flight. Lord City Governor, you can send out the people you've prepared. The second-star killer city can't tolerate such an arrogant person. It's time to end this." The city governor nodded and issued an order to the experts he'd prepared to deal with Su Fong. Whoosh! A cultivator sitting in the front row stepped onto the blood slaughter platform. Like a shadow, he suddenly appeared in front of Su Fong. This was a man in his 30s. He stared coldly at Su Fong and said, "I'm Song Wuyu, ranked 9th in the blood slaughter platform. I've already obtained more than 90 victories and won 78 of them. After a few more victories, I'll be promoted to a 2-star divine blood slaughter general. Originally, I didn't want to add insult to injury, but since Lord City Governor has paid a huge price, I can only use your head in exchange for Lord City Governor's benefits." Su Fong sneered at Song Wuyu and said, "No one can take my head away. Not even you. That's not up to you. Your undefeated glory will be ended by me." Song Wuyu smiled gloomily. Whoosh! An ethereal aura flashed out from between Song Wuyu's eyebrows and disappeared above the blood slaughter platform. Su Fong activated his great perfection sensing ability, but he couldn't sense any aura at all. Suddenly, the heavenly secret life shrinking technique and the heavenly secret unraveling true scripture flickered rapidly. A huge sense of crisis shrouded Su Fong's body in an instant. Su Fong cast a talisman without hesitation, forming a defensive array around him. Unexpectedly, a shadow that couldn't be sensed by his primordial spirit actually passed through the array and suddenly appeared behind Su Fong. With a flash of cold light, the blood armor on Su Fong's back was torn apart. A large wound was also torn open on his body, and blood spurted out. It wasn't just an injury on the surface. A shadow could be seen frantically drilling into Su Fong's body from his wound. It was wantonly devouring Su Fong's life force and eroding his Tao heart and will. Song Wuyu's proud voice came from the opposite side. "My blood slaughter Dharma body isn't enough, but I have a powerful Dharma body. My Dharma body was created by killing a foreign race expert and taking over his body. Then, I cultivated it for tens of millions of years. It can hide in the void and pass through any array and restriction at will. Unless you have a strength that surpasses a Taoist master, you won't be able to sense my existence. Su Fong, admit defeat. Young Master Jun of Dongxian, and the City Lord will spare your life. Admit defeat." Su Fong sneered domineeringly. Suddenly, he turned sideways abruptly. An array of red light shot out from his eyes and landed in the void. A scream came from the void. "How did you know the location of my Dharma body?" Song Wuyu's Dharma body was indeed strange. It was difficult for ordinary cultivators to discover it, and it could even ignore array defenses. However, Su Fong had the ability to sense the aura of fate. How could it escape from Su Fong's senses? QL11, Su Fong burned Song Wuyu's Dharma body with his true eyes of incineration. Then, Kaiyu's Tao heart trembled, and the killing intent erupted. Song Wuyu's Dharma body lost its ability to hide and could no longer pose a threat to Su Fong. Moreover, the Dharma body's defense wasn't strong. Under the suppression of Su Fong's powerful will, the Dharma body shattered. "You could die now." The killing marks on Su Fong's blood slaughter Dharma body shot out streaks of killing intent. They intertwined into a sword array and swept toward Song Wuyu. After the attack, Song Wuyu's physical body and blood slaughter Dharma body had already been minced into a pool of blood. Su Fong also staggered. His aura quickly faded, and he looked like he was seriously injured. He was like an arrow at the end of its flight. Chapter 2735. Despicable. Shameless to the extreme. The three supreme profound sects actually have such a disciple. How shameful. Many cultivators below the stage angrily rebuked Zhang Sun Yaoyang's shamelessness. Zhang Sun Yaoyang scoffed. "I am so despicable and shameless. What can you do?" On the blood slaughter stage, Su Fong received the baptism of the blood aura and condensed another slaughter mark. However, The injuries he suffered during the battle with Song Wuyo did not recover. Instead, they became even more serious. Su Fong, I'm here to take your life. Zhang Sun Yaoyang jumped onto the blood slaughter stage and looked at Su Fong, laughing proudly. Little did he know, Su Fong suddenly revealed a bright smile and said, Zhang Sun Yaoyang, thank you. I'm going to take your life, and you're thanking me? Are you crazy? Zhang Sun Yaoyang was shocked and stunned. The city lord, who was sitting majestically on the throne below the blood slaughter stage, suddenly reminded loudly, Young Master Zhang Sun, be careful. Zhang Sun Yaoyang was stunned and puzzled. Be careful? I could take a dying person's life with a finger. What's there to be careful about? Su Fong waved his hand and rolled out a dozen array talismans. After activating them, they turned into a formation that trapped Zhang Sun Yaoyang inside. Then, Su Fong used the Great Tao of Time to create a formation on the blood slaughter stage and sat cross-legged in the formation. Then, Su Fong took out the 9-vein pill and swallowed it wantonly. How was he still as dispirited as before? Su Fong is so cunning. He deliberately pretended to be injured to lure Zhang Sun Yaoyang onto the blood slaughter stage and install for time to recover. Zhang Sun Yaoyang is unlucky. He thought Su Fong was a pushover and jumped into Su Fong's trap. How does Su Fong master the Great Tao of Time? That's clearly a supreme ability of the three supreme profound sects. Now, not only is Zhang Sun Yaoyang in trouble, but the city lord and Dong Xianjun's plan is also ruined. Maybe Su Fong can win the battle. Everyone was discussing animatedly. Dong Xianjun was no longer composed as he snorted coldly. That trash Zhang Sun Yaoyang has ruined this seat's entire plan. This seat has no choice but to take action now. The city lord said, I've prepared quite a number of experts. The experts of the Great Sun Limitless sect have yet to make a move. Why would I need young master to make a move personally? Dong Xianjun shook his head and said, with the interference of this good-for-nothing Sun Yaoyang, I'm afraid that there's no one else in Second Starkiller City who can restrain Su Fong except for me. Boom, boom. For Zhang Sun Yaoyang to be able to become a 1-star divine bloodkill general, it was all because of the help of the experts under him. He himself was an idiot. He had a lot of treasures on him. Talismans? Xian Bao was frightening. However, these formations were all higher-level formations that Su Fong grasped later on. Moreover, with Zhang Sun Yaoyang's strength, no matter how powerful the Xian Bao was, it would still be difficult for him to activate much power. The only thing that could be used was the rune talisman. However, as he was trapped in the formation, he did not dare to use rune talismans that were too powerful. Otherwise, he would be affected. If he was in the outside world, he could use the teleportation talisman to break through space and escape the formation. However, this was the blood slaughter arena. Space was shackled, and the teleportation talisman lost its effect. It would be difficult for Zhang Sun Yaoyang to escape in a short time. Su Fong, you shameless bastard. If you have the ability, fight me head-on. Zhang Sun Yaoyang cursed loudly in exasperation. However, no matter how much he cursed, Su Fong did not bother to pay attention to him. He calmed down and recovered in the time formation. There was no time limit on the blood slaughter arena. Su Fong had plenty of time to recover, so he was not in a hurry at all. In the time formation space, 10 years passed in a flash. Zhang Sun Yaoyang had been trapped in the formation for a year. He had already given up resisting. The many cultivators below the stage had also spent a year in dreary and dull waiting. Qi, under the condition of swallowing blood evil pills and blood evil stones, Su Fong once again condensed a slaughter mark. His blood evil body had also improved a lot. As for his previous injuries, he was not seriously injured in the first place, but he deliberately pretended to be seriously injured to buy himself time to recover. At this moment, he had already recovered more than half. Su Fong did not have the slightest intention of stopping. 500 years passed in the array formation. Qi. Slaughter marks were born one after another. At this time, Su Fong had more than 50 slaughter marks, even more than Dong Xianjun, who had 58 slaughter marks. The people below the stage had long been numb to this scene. Another 1,000 years passed. Zhang Sun Yaoyang, who was trapped in the formation, cursed from time to time, but in the end, the formation was completely silent. Below the blood slaughter arena, no one had expected that things would develop to this point. Many cultivators were bored, and some even closed their eyes to cultivate on their thrones. In the past 1,000 years, Su Fang had condensed 3 more slaughter marks. His body was covered in blood armor, and blood patterns densely covered the blood armor, interweaving into a deep and mysterious natural formation. The silver-gray slaughter star pattern was densely covered with slaughter marks, exuding an astonishing murderous aura. It was not until Su Fang felt that it was difficult to improve his blood-evil body by swallowing blood-evil pills and blood-evil stones that he ended his cultivation and walked out of the formation. Only then did the people below the blood slaughter arena wake up from their dull state and look at the blood slaughter arena. Zhang Sun Yaoyang, didn't you want to fight me head-on? Su Fang passed through the formation and appeared in front of Zhang Sun Yaoyang. Zhang Sun Yaoyang gnashed his teeth and shouted, "Su Fang, you're despicable. It's you who's too stupid." Su Fang sneered disdainfully, looking at Zhang Sun Yaoyang as if he was looking at a corpse. Zhang Sun Yaoyang snorted. "You're good. This time, I admit defeat. Let me go quickly. Let you go." Su Fang laughed involuntarily. "Do you think the challenge of the blood slaughter arena is a game between children? Since you dare to challenge me, Su Fang, then leave your life. You dare to kill me?" Zhang Sun Yaoyang revealed an incredulous expression. Looking at his expression, it seemed that it was unimaginable for him to be killed by someone else. Zhang Sun Yaoyang pointed at the tip of his nose. "Do you know who I am? My grandfather is the Grand Elder of the 3 Supreme Profound Sects. You dare to kill me?" Su Fang was speechless. Zhang Sun Yaoyang had obviously been spoiled since childhood and had developed an arrogant and domineering personality. In his opinion, it was a matter of course for him to kill others, but it was inconceivable for others to kill him. "Go to hell." With a thought from Su Fang, the might of the formation swept towards Zhang Sun Yaoyang. "I have a talisman treasure personally created by my grandfather. Even a peerless powerhouse that surpasses the Tao Lord would find it difficult to kill me, let alone a lowly slave like you." Zhang Sun Yaoyang arrogantly pointed at Su Fang and shouted domineeringly. A towering figure stood in front of Zhang Sun Yaoyang and erupted with divine might. It instantly formed an independent space and enveloped Zhang Sun Yaoyang within it. The might of the formation was shattered layer by layer, and it was unable to shake it in the slightest. Zhang Sun Yaoyang smirked at Su Fang. "Sooner or later, you'll fall into my hands. At that time, I'll make you suffer a fate worse than death." Su Fang looked at Zhang Sun Yaoyang with a gaze filled with pity. Boom! A bloody light suddenly descended from the blood-colored star in the sky and bombarded the towering figure. The bloody light contained the supreme will of the Blood Valley and the power to crush everything. Although the towering figure was incomparably powerful, it was instantly obliterated by the bloody light. The defensive barrier that enveloped Zhang Sun Yaoyang also disappeared without a trace. How could this be? Zhang Sun Yaoyang was shocked and stunned that he had lost his life-saving straw. In the next moment, a powerful will to obliterate Zhang Sun Yaoyang suddenly descended and obliterated him completely. It was as if he had never existed. In the Blood Valley, Su Fang did not even dare to use the power of the 6th Extreme Tao Saint. Otherwise, he would attract the murderous will of the Blood Valley, which was at the same level as the 6th Extreme Tao Saint. Zhang Sun Yaoyang's talisman treasure was equivalent to a Dharma body of the first elder of the 3 highest mysterious sects. It far exceeded the restrictions of the Blood Valley. When Zhang Sun Yaoyang took it out, it would naturally be mercilessly obliterated by the will of the Blood Valley. Zhang Sun Yaoyang was accompanied by experts. There was no need for him to make a move, and there was no chance for him to use his talisman treasure. Naturally, no one would tell him about the restrictions of the Blood Valley. Just like that, Zhang Sun Yaoyang lost his life in a daze. Even until his death, he did not understand what had happened. "Su Fang, You killed young Master Zhang Sun Yaoyang. First Elder Zhang Sun will definitely not let you off. The three highest mysterious sects will definitely not let you off either. One of Zhang Sun Yaoyang's subordinates was shocked and furious as he shouted at Su Fang. Zhang Sun Yaoyang was obliterated by the will of the Blood Valley. What does it have to do with me, Su Fang? Su Fang smiled helplessly. Then he sneered disdainfully. Would the three highest mysterious sect let me off if I didn't kill Zhang Sun Yaoyang? You are Zhang Sun Yaoyang's guard. Now that he is dead and you are alive, when you return to the three highest mysterious sects, First Elder Zhang Sun will definitely not let you off, right? Why aren't you taking revenge for him? I'll kill you. That cultivator of the three highest mysterious sects naturally knew the severity of the consequences. If he returned to the three highest mysterious sects alive, not only would he not be able to protect his own life, but his family would also suffer. Now, he might as well fight to the death. Even if he died, he could protect his family and family. QL 11 Chi. Just as that cultivator stepped onto the blood slaughter arena, Su Fang grabbed more than 10 strands of sword Chi condensed from killing aura. They turned into a sword formation that swept out and easily killed him. Who else wants to challenge me? Come on. At this moment, Su Fang had recovered to his peak state. Moreover, he already had 61 slaughter marks. His entire body was filled with killing intent, and he was in high spirits. Zhang Sun Yaoyang, that useless trash who can't do anything right. The situation was a little out of control, and the city lord's eyes were filled with haze. Then he shouted at a long-haired youth in the front row, "Hu Tiannu go." The long-haired youth hesitated. Clearly, he was afraid of Su Fang. Chapter 27:36. Hu Tiannu. Su Fang's brows furrowed. This was yet another powerful figure. Even Su Fang had a thunderous reputation. It was said that this person also came from a low-level universe and became a wandering cultivator after coming to the Eastern Xian divine realm. He started from the bottom and now had the cultivation of a Tao Lord. It was truly extraordinary for a cultivator from a low-level universe to have such achievements. However, due to his lowly background and arrogant nature, he had always been ostracized by various factions. Later, he offended a powerful cultivation family and was hunted down, so he fled to Blood Valley. This person's ranking in Second Slaughter City's Blood Slaughter platform wasn't high, only in the 20s. However, this person's battle record was astonishing. He won all 60 battles. Hearing the city lord's promise, Hu Tiannu's deep eyes flashed. Eastern Xian Heaven Pavilion's outer disciple. Looking at his appearance, it was obvious that he was rather tempted. Dong Xinjun suddenly said, "If you can defeat Su Fang, it'll be enough to prove your strength. I promise that I'll take you under my wing and give you a limitless future." Hu Tiannu didn't hesitate. His figure flashed, and he stepped onto the blood slaughter platform. Su Fang. Hu Tiannu looked at Su Fang with burning eyes. Su Fang said coldly, "If you're trying to persuade me to become someone's slave, then shut up. I, Su Fang, may be of lowly birth, but I won't hand my fate over to others." "Enough nonsense, let's fight." Hu Tiannu shouted, "You and I both come from low-level universes. You don't want to hand your fate over to others, but do you think I, Hu Tiannu, like to let others control my fate?" Dong Xinjun and the city lord both frowned. This Hu Tiannu didn't seem to be obedient. As expected, in the eyes of the great factions of the Jiuquan divine realm, we cultivators from low-level universes are ants, slaves that they can enslave and trample on. I, Hu Tiannu, don't believe it. I want to use my own ability to prove to everyone that although I, Hu Tiannu, was born lowly, I will not be oppressed forever. I want to use my own hands to fight for a piece of the sky. You're the same as me. You have talent, luck, ambition, and a tenacious Tao heart that will never admit defeat. I hope that you can win this battle to suppress the city and make us, the so-called heaven-forsaken slave race, proud and elated. Originally, I planned to fight steadily and win 100 battles within 1,000,000 years. Then, I would obtain the blood slaughter token and be listed on the mysterious sky ranking. In order to fulfill your wish, I admit defeat in this battle. Hua Tiannu let out a clanging sound. Su Fang was shocked and surprised. He didn't expect to meet such an upright man in the Blood Valley. There was a sharp glint in Dong Xianjun's eyes. The city lord also lost his composure and shouted angrily, "Hua Tiannu, do you know what the consequences of your actions will be?" Hua Tiannu snorted. "Isn't it just facing your pursuit? If worst comes to worst, I'll just leave the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. There are so many profound worlds in the Jiuquan Divine Realm, and the depths of the primal chaos are so vast. Do you think there's no place for me, Hua Tiannu?" Su Fang cupped his fists at Hua Tiannu and said, "Many thanks." Hua Tiannu waved his hand and said, "I will watch you in the battle below. Don't let me down." Then, Hua Tiannu jumped off the blood slaughter stage and returned to his throne. Although the city lord's killing intent was monstrous, he couldn't do anything to Hua Tiannu in the blood slaughter stage. He could only suppress his anger. That Hua Tiannu is a real man. He offended the city lord in Dong Xianjun. He'll die even faster when the time comes. A lowly heaven-forsaken slave race wants to rise again. Dream on. Many cultivators below the blood slaughter stage were discussing spiritedly. Some were on Hua Tiannu's side, while others snorted disdainfully. The city lord shouted, "Han Song, go!" Another powerful expert jumped onto the blood slaughter stage. Han Song, ranked 7th on the blood slaughter stage, was famous in the second star slaughter city. "You're willing to become the city lord's lackey? Die." Su Fang activated his blood slaughter avatar, erupting with a monstrous blood aura that crushed toward Han Song. The two of them fought for more than 6 hours. In the end, Su Fang formed a formation with 61 slaughter marks and shattered Han Song's Dao heart before killing him. Boundless Great Sun Path, Muyu. After Su Fang was cleansed by the blood aura, an expert from the Boundless Great Sun Path who had rushed to the Blood Valley couldn't help but attack. This person's cultivation was at the same level as Su Fang's subordinate, Wu Meng, and he also cultivated the Heavenly Dao Avatar. The intent of slaughter he released merged with the Heavenly Dao Avatar in his mind attack. Its power was shocking. Su Fang's 61 slaughter marks displayed an extremely powerful ability. Even Mu Yu's mind attack couldn't resist his intent of slaughter, and he was killed by Su Fang's sword formation in the end. After killing 2 experts in succession, being cleansed by the blood aura and devouring their blood slaughter avatars, Su Fang formed another slaughter mark. After swallowing a 9-pattern blood slaughter pill, Su Fang shouted domineeringly, "Who's next? Get the hell up here." Under the city lord's heavy rewards and threats, one expert after another stepped onto the blood slaughter arena. One expert after another was killed by Su Fang. Su Fang fell into a heavily injured state again and again. His formation talismans were quickly exhausted, and even the blood slaughter pills on him were almost exhausted. Only blood slaughter stones and other medicinal pills were left. Boom! After killing an expert, Su Fang staggered and knelt on one knee on the ground. He accepted the cleansing by the blood aura in this posture. After the cleansing, Su Fang had no choice but to withdraw his blood slaughter avatar and merge his profound earth avatar with his physical body. He can't hold on any longer. Su Fang's greatest reliance is the formation talismans, medicinal pills, and the blood slaughter avatar. Now that he's lost all his reliance, it's like a tiger losing its fangs and claws. Anyone can kill him now. Su Fang has already won 84 rounds. Only then did everyone realize to their shock that Su Fang had actually won over 80 battles in total when he added the number of victories he had in the past. However, it was not so easy to win 100 rounds. The closer one got to the end, the more difficult it would be. Although the 84 victories were amazing, if Su Fang lost one more round, it would mean that everything would be for naught. Even his life would be left behind on the blood slaughter arena. There are still 16 rounds. Su Fang took a deep breath and stabilized his Dao heart. Looking down the arena, his eyes became fierce again. He shouted, "Next!" This time, before the city lord could speak, an expert charged onto the blood slaughter arena. The expert smiled smugly. Su Fong, you're now a piece of fat meat waiting to be slaughtered. Anyone can have a bite. Why don't you let me? Swoosh. Swoosh. Su Fong activated his Xianhuang avatar and combined the power of his subordinates to perform the Guiyuan 6 fusion sword technique. The true Yang evil vanquishing sword seemed to have grown eyes. It flew out of his hand and charged toward the expert. In less than half an hour, the expert's mind and defense of his avatar were shattered by the sharp and scorching sword chi. His head was cut off. Next, Su Fong's voice, full of killing intent, came from the blood slaughter arena once again. The blood battles came one after another. After winning 9 rounds in a row, Su Fong had won 93 rounds. He was not far from 100 rounds. However, under the continuous attacks of powerful enemies, Su Fong not only had his blood slaughter avatar, but also his purple fate avatar and heavenly path avatar. His other avatars were almost exhausted. Even his Xianyang avatar and physical body were in a state of serious injury. His Tao heart and primordial spirit consciousness were also under a huge burden. The light on his Tao heart dimmed, and his consciousness gradually became blurry. Su Fong was truly an arrow at the end of its flight. Looks like I have no choice but to use my trump card. Su Fong closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his calm eyes flashed with determination. Besides the heavenly secret life contraction technique, his trump card was also the luck spider. The heavenly secret life contraction technique could only be used once. Once the luck spider was exposed, Su Fong would have to worry about being killed by the Blood Valley's will, even if he did not consider the consequences. Su Fong, I challenge you. Whoosh. A figure passed by the other cultivators fighting to be first and landed on the blood slaughter arena. Dong Xianichen. He did not expect Dong Xianichen to make a move at this time. Su Fong was not surprised. Brother Chen, shut up. On the blood slaughter arena, they're only enemies. Dong Xianichen seemed to be a different person as he shouted at Su Fong domineeringly. Below the blood slaughter arena, Dong Xianjun smiled casually. His eyes were full of contempt and disdain as he looked at Dong Xianichen. Dong Xianchan shouted, Dong Xianichen, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. I was blind. Su Fong said calmly, Dong Xianichen, make your move. Die Su Fong. Dong Xianichen was like a ferocious beast as he pounced at Su Fong. Su Fong was about to activate his heavenly Tao Dharma body to give Dong Xianichen a fierce blow when Dong Xianichen suddenly flew backward and landed 1,000 feet away. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Su Fong, you still have a trump card. How despicable. Dong Xianichen stared at Su Fong and shouted in horror. Su Fong was stunned and confused. Suddenly, with a swoosh, a Xianguang shot out from Dong Xianichen's body and flew towards Su Fong. Su Fong reached out and grabbed the Xianguang. It was actually a storage ring. Dong Xianichen shouted angrily again. Su Fong, how dare you snatch this seat's storage ring? Su Fong sent his consciousness into the storage ring and found that there were 100 silver vein pills in it. They were all 9 vein pills, and there were more than 1,009 vein pills from the Chamber of Commerce. Su Fong was suddenly enlightened and looked at Dong Xianichen with gratitude. Dong Xianichen snorted, Su Fong, if you have the ability, wait until this seat recovers to my peak state and fight me again. Then he sat down cross-legged on the blood slaughter arena and swallowed the pills, closing his eyes to recover. Brother Chen, thank you. Su Fong transmitted his telepathic thoughts to Dong Xianichen. Dong Xianichen chuckled. What are you thanking me for? We are friends. Don't talk too much. Be careful of being noticed by the Blood Valley's will. Then, both of us will be in big trouble. Friends, Su Fong thought of Li Haojia, Li Zuqing, Luo, and you. A warm current surged in his heart. Chapter 2737. Only then did the cultivators below the bloody massacre arena understand Dong Xianichen's intention. He went up to the arena to give Su Fong a victory and even gave him pills to buy time for Su Fong to recover. Some people praised Dong Xianichen's actions. Some people flew into a rage out of humiliation and cursed loudly. If Su Fong recovered, who would be able to deal with him when he was at his peak. Dong Xinjun's sharp gaze shot to the bloody massacre arena as he shouted coldly, "Dong Xianichen, you trash! How dare you try to ruin my plan? Aren't you afraid of being punished by Heaven Pavilion's strict laws when you return?" Dong Xianichen snorted. "You used despicable means to deal with Su Fong and tarnish the reputation of East Profound Heaven Pavilion. When the time comes, the one who will be punished by Heaven Pavilion's laws will be you, not me." Dong Xinjun recovered his calm demeanor, as if everything was under his control. He smiled coldly and embarrassedly. "I underestimated you in the past. I didn't expect a trash like you to be someone. This seat wants to see how many waves you can create." The city lord's eyes flashed with killing intent as he secretly sent a thought to Dong Xinjun. "Young Master Dong Xinjun, Dong Xinichen and Su Fong's actions are cheating. I can communicate with the Blood Valley's will and kill them directly." Dong Xinjun shook his head. "You think you need the Blood Valley's will to suppress a mere Dao Truth cultivator? Aren't you overestimating Su Fong? Don't worry, with me here, an ant can't overturn the sky." Time flew. Su Fong quickly recovered his strength in the time formation. It was all thanks to Dong Xianichen's blood demon pills, especially the silver vein pills that Su Fong had given to Dong Xianichen before. Unexpectedly, they were of great use now. In addition to 1,009 vein pills from the Second Star Killer City Chamber of Commerce, Su Fong's blood demon Dharma body recovered quickly. Not only did the blood demon Dharma body recover to its peak state, Su Fong also condensed 3 slaughter marks consecutively. Now, Su Fong had 65 slaughter marks. It was very difficult for cultivators to condense out slaughter marks. For the average cultivator, condensing out 9 slaughter marks was already quite a feat, and yet, Su Fong had condensed out so many slaughter marks. Just how shocking was that? This was not only because of the blood evil pills and blood evil stones, but also because Su Fong's blood evil Dharma body had the ability to devour other cultivators' blood evil Dharma bodies. The most important reason for this was that Su Fong had single-handedly challenged the second-ranked trial taker of Star Killer City. Every time he won, he would cleanse his marrow and absorb an incomparably pure and high-grade blood aura, causing his blood aura to rise at an astonishing speed. At this moment, the injuries and exhaustion of his physical body and other avatars were almost fully recovered. This was also because Su Fong's physical body and Dharmakaya were both extraordinary and had astonishing recovery abilities. In addition, he had all kinds of amazing high-level resources and treasures, which allowed him to have such a terrifying recovery speed. If it were any other cultivator, they would probably not be able to recover even after hundreds of thousands of years. So much time has passed. Su Fong counted with his fingers. He had already spent more than 5,000 years in the erase space, and more than 500 years had passed in the outside world. 500 years was nothing to a cultivator. However, the cultivators below the blood slaughter platform were burning with impatience. Dong Xinjun was probably the only one who could remain calm. He sat upright on the throne, still looking as if everything was under his control. Su Fong was still preparing to continue recovering to his peak state. Who knew Buzz? Buzz, the mysterious Tao runes from the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique and the Heavenly Secret True Text from the Heavenly Secret Unraveled actually flashed rapidly together, indicating that a strong life and death crisis was about to descend. Then, Su Fong sensed that an extremely powerful will was slowly awakening from the blood-colored star above the blood slaughter platform. Oh no, Dong Xianichen is deliberately stalling for time. He has already attracted the attention of the Blood Valley's will. Su Fong was shocked and immediately jumped out of the array. Dong Xianichen, I'll fight you to the death. Su Fong let out a thunderous roar at Dong Xianichen. A murderous aura surged out, making a terrifying whistling sound as it swept toward Dong Xianichen. Do you think I'm afraid of you? See how I suppress you. Dong Xianichen was stunned for a moment before he reacted. He activated his blood demon Dharma body and charged towards Su Fong. The two of them engaged in a fierce battle on the blood slaughter platform, looking soul-stirring and astonishing. Everyone below the platform was dumbfounded. Can be any more fake? Shameless. These two guys are simply too shameless. Why didn't the Blood Valley send down its will and obliterate these two shameless people? There was a burst of angry rebukes from below the platform. On the Blood Slaughter platform, Su Fong and Dong Xinichin turned a deaf ear to the crowd's abuse. Su Fong had been sensing the blood-colored star in the sky all this time. When he sensed that the will of the Blood Valley was gradually disappearing, he let out a long sigh of relief. The two of them fought for 3 days. In the end, Dong Xinichin was seriously injured and admitted defeat to Su Fong, withdrawing from the Blood Slaughter platform. 94 victories. There were only 6 victories left before 100 victories. Su Fong's heaven-defying rise was unstoppable. Su Fong was cleansed by the Blood Demon Dharma body and condensed another Slayer mark from the Star of Slaughter pattern. Moreover, the Slayer mark on the Star of Slaughter pattern spread toward the blood armor, causing the blood-colored mark on the armor to turn silver-gray. At this time, Su Fong's entire body was exuding a fierce, murderous aura. A single look from him contained an unparalleled will of slaughter that could easily kill a Dao Lord. Who else wants to challenge me? Su Fong looked below the Blood Slaughter platform, his domineering voice resounding throughout the space of the Blood Slaughter platform. Even when Su Fong was an arrow at the end of its flight, he was still able to crush all obstacles and win more than 90 victories step by step. Now that he was at his peak and had 66 Slayer marks, wasn't challenging him now the same as courting death? QL11 Su Fong called out 3 times in a row. The Blood Slaughter platform fell silent. No one dared to accept the challenge. The City Lord looked at Dong Xinjun. The latter nodded slightly. The City Lord said in a majestic voice, "Go, but leave your life behind." A bloody figure flashed out of the City Lord's body and flew toward the Blood Slaughter platform, landing in front of Su Fong. It was a middle-aged man with an extremely ordinary appearance. His eyes were completely stupefied and deathly still, and he looked like an icy, cold corpse. His body was covered in a layer of blood armor. Silver-gray Slayer marks covered his entire body and converged on the Star of Slaughter pattern on his chest. There were 72 Slayer marks. Su Fong was surprised when he sensed this person. It turned out that the middle-aged man didn't have a trace of life aura on him. He couldn't even sense a trace of fate aura. He was just a thick and majestic blood chi. This person was actually a puppet that was condensed from the aura of blood and evil. A puppet was actually able to ascend the Blood Slaughter arena as a trial taker. This left Su Fong shocked and surprised. "Blood Slaughter, Divine Guards," Dong Xinichin exclaimed. Immediately, he sent a message to Su Fong with his vital spirit. "Su Fong, be careful. That's a Blood Slaughter Divine Guard, not an ordinary practitioner." Su Fong asked in confusion, "What's a Blood Slaughter Divine Guard?" The Blood Valley was created by Dongxian Daozu himself. The entire Blood Valley is naturally under the control of Dongxian Heaven Pavilion. In addition to being used for practitioners to practice and cultivate Blood Slaughter Dharmakaya, it also secretly cultivates Blood Slaughter Divine Guards. These Blood Slaughter Divine Guards are not living beings, but monsters refined from Blood Slaughter Chi. They can exert the Slaughter Dao to the extreme and are extremely powerful. They are specially cultivated by Dongxian Heaven Pavilion to deal with the invasion of foreign tribes. The City Lord's Mansion also uses this secret method to help practitioners who have lost their Blood Slaughter Dharmakaya regain their Dharmakaya and make a fortune from it. However, this kind of crude Dharmakaya is far inferior to the Blood Slaughter Divine Guards. The City Lord of the Second Slaughter Star City is also audacious to use the Blood Slaughter Divine Guards cultivated by Dongxian Heaven Pavilion to deal with you. If Dongxian Heaven Pavilion finds out, even 10 city lords won't be enough to kill you. After Dong Xianichin's explanation, Su Fong finally understood what the Blood Slaughter Divine Guards were. Without Dong Xianjun's support, how could the city lord be so audacious? Su Fong looked at the Blood Slaughter Divine Guards solemnly and asked, "Why didn't the Blood Valleys will stop the Blood Slaughter Divine Guards?" Dong Xianichin transmitted his voice The Blood Fiend Divine Guard is actually no different from the Blood Fiend avatar that experts cultivate. Furthermore, it can continuously increase its strength from a 1-star Divine General of Bloody Slaughter to a Divine Lord of Bloody Slaughter. The Blood Valleys will only recognize as the Blood Slaughter Dharmakaya, so naturally, it won't reject the Blood Slaughter Divine Guards. He then warned, the Blood Slaughter Divine Guard attack method is very simple but extremely powerful. They can exert the slaughter chi to the extreme, so you must be careful. Dong Xinichen's repeated warnings made Su Fong nervous. Suppress him. The city lord ordered the Blood Slaughter Divine Guard. Kill. The Blood Slaughter Divine Guard uttered a vague but sharp voice filled with killing intent. Then, it took a step forward and threw a punch at Su Fong. The slaughter marks on its blood-red armor flickered together while a strand of dense slaughter chi surged out and caused a ghastly gale to form into a storm that swept out. The storm instantly flashed past Su Fong. Su Fong felt like a child that had fallen into an icy pit. He noticed through shock that the Blood Slaughter Divine Guard slaughter chi actually carried the aura of the Death Tao that destroyed all vitality and shattered a cultivator's Tao heart and will. The objective of slaughter was to destroy and annihilate the vitality of life. The strength and Tao aura possessed by the Blood Slaughter Divine Guard had obviously arrived at the limits of the Slaughter Tao, so his might was much stronger than the Blood Slaughter Dharmakaya of cultivators. Su Fong estimated that the Tao aura and strength contained within this punch could easily annihilate an upper Tao Lord and even annihilate all the living beings in a low-level universe. This was a true massacre. Bang! A boundless and powerful slaughter chi swept out, causing Su Fong's blood-red armor to tremble while fine cracks appeared on it, and the slaughter star diagram suddenly dimmed down. His body was impacted as well, and he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. It wasn't ordinary blood. It was blood that was deathly gray and had completely lost the aura of life. His Tao heart was impacted as well. Caillou's Tao heart shook, and the rays of light shattered while her Tao heart shook. Chapter 2738. Amazing. This Blood Fiend Divine Guard is really amazing. Su Fong wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at the Blood Fiend Divine Guard in horror. The blood and chi in his body surged, and Caillou's Tao heart shook as well. Only then did the killing aura that destroyed life and Tao heart melt away. With the strength of his Blood Fiend body, even a peak Tao Lord couldn't cause such damage to him with a single punch. This showed how powerful the Blood Fiend Divine Guard was. Kill! The Blood Fiend Divine Guard roared angrily again. Like a killing machine, it crushed towards Su Fong again. Su Fong activated the Flame Stampede boots and kept retreating. At the same time, he threw out pieces of divine stones to create layers of defensive formations to block the Blood Fiend Divine Guard's attack. However, the Blood Fiend Divine Guard attack was too shocking. The temporary formation could only block it for a moment before it was destroyed. This can't go on. I have to find a way to get rid of this Blood Fiend Divine Guard. Otherwise, I'll be in a passive position and eventually be suppressed. Su Fong kept retreating while thinking of a way to deal with it. Looking from below the Blood Slaughter platform, Su Fong could only flee in all directions under the attacks of the Blood Slaughter Divine Guard. He was completely crushed. An ant from a low-level universe dares to challenge the majesty of the second-star Slaughter City? You're courting death. The city lord sneered. Dong Xianjun reminded him, this person is useful to me. Don't kill him. The city lord stroked his beard and said, don't worry, young master. The Blood Fiend Divine Guard obeys my will and orders. They will never kill Su Fong. Dong Xinichin and Dong Xianchan stood up from their thrones and looked nervously at the Blood Slaughter platform. Dong Xianchan grabbed Dong Xinichin's arm tightly. Her eyes were filled with despair as she kept saying, Brother Su Fong won't die, right? Brother Su Fong won't die this time. Su Fong still can't create a miracle. It's hard to defy the heavens. Hua Tianyu sighed and closed his eyes on his throne. He couldn't bear to watch anymore. The City Lord Mansion actually possesses such powerful Blood Fiend Divine Guards. No wonder it can control the second Star Killer City. No one dares to challenge the prestige of the city Lord Mansion. That brat Su Fong is too arrogant. He actually wants to suppress an entire city by himself. Let's see how he'll die this time. Many cultivators were in a heated discussion. No one thought that Su Fong could escape the suppression of the Blood Evil Divine Guards. Boom! The Blood Evil Divine Guard broke through the defensive formation with one punch, and the aftershock swept over Su Fong and sent him flying. Su Fong spat out another mouthful of blood. His life aura instantly withered, and his blood armor began to crack. However, his eyes were flickering with a scorching light. That Shueisha Divine Guard is not alive. It is impossible for him to master the Tao rhythm of the Tao of Massacre. However, his attack is so shocking. It's the Slayer mark on its body. Su Fong discovered that every time the Blood Evil Divine Guard attacked, the Blood Evil Qi in its body would circulate in a strange way among the Slayer marks. Finally, it would erupt into a terrifying Qi of massacre. The Blood Evil Divine Guard's strength is not strong, and he doesn't know how to cultivate. All his power comes from the naturally formed Slayer marks. The way the Blood Evil Qi circulates in the Slayer marks is exactly the same as the formation. This is why he has such a powerful attack power. I understand now. The true strength of the Blood Evil Divine Body is not only in the number of Slayer marks, but also in the way the Blood Evil Qi circulates in the Slayer marks. Su Fong immediately used the Heavenly Prying Eye. The ethereal eye light fell on the Blood Evil Divine Guard. The way the Blood Evil Qi circulates was clearly seen by Su Fong under the supreme divine ability of the Heavenly Mystery Solution. There was no mystery to speak of. In this way, Su Fong escaped while comprehending. Boom! 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 The Blood Evil Divine Guard launched another round of frenzied attacks. The speed at which Su Fong created the formation could not keep up with the speed at which the Blood Evil Divine Guard destroyed the formation. Under the sweeping impact of the massacre storm, Su Fong was once again sent flying before he fell heavily to the ground. Su Fong is dead for sure this time. He may be extraordinary, but how can he fight against the powerful governor's office in Dongxianjun? Seeing this scene, some people sighed, some mocked and ridiculed, and there were quite a few people who rejoiced in his misfortune. Dong Xinchan closed his eyes in despair. The governor said in a majestic voice, "Leave him alive, just shackle him." The Blood Evil Divine Guard slowed down and separated his hands, striking out a gust of massacre qi. It condensed into a chain and was about to shackle Su Fong. Suddenly, Su Fong laughed loudly. The Slayer marks on the blood armor flashed, and the massacre qi swept out with his fist, setting off a gust of wind. Poof! The chain that contained the chilling power of shackles was torn to pieces by the gust of wind. Su Fong's attack did not diminish as it hit the Blood Evil Divine Guard and forced him to retreat. Then, Su Fong took a step forward. Su Fong pounced like a ferocious beast. The aura in the Blood Evil Divine Body moved along the Slayer marks in a strange way as he threw out a punch. Boom! The power of this punch surpassed Su Fong's previous strength, not by 1 or 2 levels, but more than 10 times. Moreover, Su Fong's attack style looked exactly the same as the Blood Evil Divine Guard. He looked like another Blood Evil Divine Guard. The Blood Evil Divine Guard was ordered by the governor not to kill Su Fong. At this time, he could only defend himself. Under Su Fong's attack, he began to retreat. In terms of the number of Slayer marks, Su Fong was not as good as the Blood Evil Divine Guard. However, Su Fong could easily find the flaws in the Blood Evil Divine Guard's defense and blood armor by using the Heaven Prying Eye. Therefore, the damage he caused to the Blood Evil Divine Guard was even more shocking. The blood armor on the Blood Evil Divine Guard also began to shatter, and the blood aura was rapidly dissipating. Whoosh! There was a sudden exclamation below the blood slaughter platform. Dong Xinchan did not dare to open his eyes. He asked in a trembling voice, "Senior Brother Ichin, is Brother Su Fong dead?" Dong Xinchan said in disbelief, "Su Fong was not killed, but Su Fong is going to defy the heavens again." Hua Tianyu stared at Su Fong on the blood slaughter platform, his deep eyes surging with disbelief. He exclaimed, "Can he really defy the heavens this time?" The governor was dumbfounded and exclaimed in disbelief, "Impossible!" The blood evil divine guards were cultivated by Heaven Pavilion using forbidden techniques. They can exert the Tao of slaughter to the extreme. Then how did Su Fong master the blood evil divine guards attack style? This person is extraordinary, very extraordinary. Dong Xianjun watched Su Fong's every move without blinking. In addition to surprise and shock, there was also a faint trace of jealousy in his eyes. It was the first time this proud, peerless genius of Dongxian Heaven Pavilion had felt jealous of another cultivator. The governor shouted at the blood slaughter platform, "Don't hold back. Suppress him." Only then did the blood evil divine guards begin to exert all their strength to counterattack Su Fong. "Even now, you still want to suppress Su Fong." Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. The demeanor of a peerless expert who once dominated the Pansong universe was now fully displayed. Whoosh! The blood aura gushed out from the blood evil divine body and quickly circulated on the blood armor in a wonderful way. It instantly condensed into a sword aura about 10 feet long. A murderous aura of destruction and death instantly surged into the sky. "Suppress." The sword aura flashed. It tore a crack in the blood evil divine guard's attack, causing the gale raised by the blood evil divine guards to become chaotic in an instant. The sword aura tore through the gale and landed on the blood armor of the blood evil divine guards. Crack! 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 The blood armor of the blood evil divine guards shattered, and their bodies were severed at the waist, turning into blood aura that permeated the air. Su Fong laughed and stepped forward. He activated the blood evil divine body and madly devoured the blood aura of the blood evil divine guards. Hiss! The bodies of the blood evil divine guards were puppets cultivated by the second star killer city using a supreme forbidden technique and blood aura for countless years. All of them were pure blood aura. At this moment, Su Fong was madly devouring them. They drilled into the blood armor and seeped into the blood evil divine body, causing the blood aura in Su Fong's body to roar wildly. The blood armor was also undergoing an astonishing transformation. Whoosh! Another slaughter mark appeared on the blood armor's killing star pattern, and all the slaughter marks spread toward the blood armor that covered the entire body, interweaving into a mysterious and powerful natural boundary. Whoosh! Blood light descended from the blood star in the sky and enveloped Su Fong. The pure and high-level blood aura began to cleanse Su Fong's blood evil divine body. Half an hour later, whoosh! Another slaughter mark was born on Su Fong's blood armor. 68 slaughter marks. The blood slaughter arena was in a state of silence. Everyone looked at the blood slaughter arena with eyes full of surprise and shock. Su Fong, the blood evil divine guards were carefully cultivated by Heaven Pavilion. How dare you devour them? The city lord roared angrily, breaking the silence in the blood slaughter arena. The blood evil divine guards were puppets carefully cultivated by East Profound Heaven Pavilion to deal with foreign tribes. The city lord was already taking a great risk by taking out the blood evil divine guards. If it were not for Dong Xianjun's support, he would never have dared to do so. Now that one of the blood evil divine guards had been killed by Su Fong, the matter was blown out of proportion. If Heaven Pavilion found out, he would not just lose his position as city lord, but his life. Su Fong sneered disdainfully. If you can take out the blood evil divine guards to deal with me, why can't I devour them? How many blood evil divine guards do you have left? Take them all out. The city lord gritted his teeth and cupped his fists at Dong Xianjun. Young Master Dong Xianjun, please forgive me. Now that things have come to this, I can only kill Su Fong to give Heaven Pavilion an explanation. Dong Xianjun nodded and said, I have no intention of taking him in as a subordinate. So be it if you want to kill him. However, you must leave his soul behind. I want to search his soul to see what secrets he is hiding. As for the blood evil divine guards being killed, I'll deal with it for you when the time comes. Dong Xinjun felt a great threat from Su Fong. Asking Su Fong to submit was a joke at this time. A cultivator from a low-level universe with all kinds of extraordinary abilities was naturally a great fortune, which filled Dong Xinjun's heart with greed. Thank you, young master. The city lord calmed down and released another blood evil divine guard. Kill this person and leave his origin soul behind.